We are coming to you live from the Parliamentary Precinct in Cape Town. This is where the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, will later deliver this last State of the Nation address of the 5th Parliament to a joint sitting of the two Houses of Parliament, which are the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly. And I'm not alone. I have my colleagues with me around the precinct. They'll be covering the various aspects of this auspicious occasion. We have Valerie at the National Assembly. Good morning, Valerie.
Good morning, Masiko. Thank you very much for that. Babugeli emakaya, Valerie Tambuza la. Gikuluma outside the National Assembly steps just behind me. We are being serenaded by the Parliamentary Choir who's rendering beautiful music for us. So please enjoy. Just on the brief history of the Parliamentary Choir, they've been here for quite a long time, and every time during the year they make sure that they entertain us in the part of the morning just before the President delivers the State of the Nation address later this evening. The weather in Cape Town is extremely hot, but it's cool this morning, so please expect to have your bottle of water and then your hat and your sunscreen. But otherwise, get ready to be with us throughout the day as we take you through, as we prepare for the State of the Nation address that the President is going to deliver this evening. Over to you, Masiko.
Good morning, Valerie. I am Ayanda Konzi, and I will be reporting all things social media today. So whether you're watching us on the TV screen, from your phone, your tablet, do make sure that you keep it locked on Parliament TV. And Ankonde Edwa, kukhona no Temkosi, who will be covering the action on the red carpet today. Temkosi.
Yabulela Ayanda, Absheni, good morning, Khoyamore, Ikamalam Dingutembi Ngosingoma, and you are watching the live broadcast of the State of the Nation Address 2019, the last of the 5th Parliament. A red carpet will be rolled here to make route to the chamber for the processions of the judiciary, the speakers of the provincial legislatures, and the premiers of various provinces, before the ceremonial guard marches up to the saluting dais. This is also where our country's political leadership will make their fashion statements. This is one part of the State of the Nation address you don't want to miss. It's going to be lit, but we have to keep watching Parliament TV. On 7th February 2019, the who's who of the political and business arena, civil society and diplomatic corps will bustle in the parliamentary corridors as President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the last State of the Nation address of the 5th Parliament. The Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces and the Speaker of the National Assembly called a joint sitting for the President to deliver the 2019 State of the Nation address. The red carpet is ready. Cameras are in position, and the designers are hard at work to showcase their talent at this prestigious event in the political calendar.
Mokgaitsho pele di wa ya lwelwa le patata le lela boatleng kwa maruding a parlamente se fetwe. Watch live on Parliament TV or via Parliament's live stream on YouTube from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 in the evening. You can also join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag SONA2019. For updates, visit parliament.gov.za. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better.
Good morning, South Africa. This is Valerie Tambuza. I'm just standing outside the National Assembly. Behind me, it's the Parliamentary Choir. They are serenading us with the music since early this morning. And the song that they are rendering is Ona Limona. Translation in English is, we have a man. That means we have a man in the president, exactly. So we are going to be rendering the music throughout the day. So keep your eyes glued on the television set as we prepare to receive the president later.
Angixoliseni akazofika kofonto. Hey. Ayibhokodo. Manje.
You're still watching Parliament TV, and this is the build-up to the State of the Nation Address 2019. And this is a state ceremony where all three arms of state will be represented. But before the red carpet is rolled, as Thembinkosi had said, out for the dignitaries, the processions, and the president himself, we will be giving an all-access pass on all the day's proceedings as they unfold. Speaking of access, Ayanda Konzi joins me now to tell us more about how you can be part of our day through our social media platforms. Hi, Ayanda.
Hi, Masejo. Yes, my job is to keep you updated on everything that's happening on social media. Given that it is the State of the Nation address, it's surely going to be entertaining as well. So, there is no excuse to miss this. You can watch us on our YouTube channel called Parliament of RSA, where we'll be live streaming the entire day's proceedings. And while you're there, please don't forget to subscribe. You can also follow us on all our social media platforms. That's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And the handle on all of those is @Parliament of RSA. Now, the hashtag for today is SONA 2019. And to interact directly with us here at Parliament TV, please do use hashtag #PollyLive. You will see that there is already a lot of interaction across our social media platforms. So do go read, repost, comment, and share. More excitingly, do look out for our Throwback Thursday post and our polls. We'll also be later running a poll on Twitter and our Instagram story, just to find out whether you feel that the State of the Nation address should happen in the morning or should continue happening in the evening. Now, you'll remember that the State of the Nation address used to happen in the morning until 2009, when it was moved to the evening to give more space to the citizens to watch live from the comfort of their own homes. I'll be back later for the SONA 2019 social media updates here on Parliament TV. Thank you, Marcel.
Thank you very much, Ayanda. As you have heard, you can follow us live from wherever you are, whether you are in the comfort of your own office, the comfort of your own home, or on your phone, wherever you are, to follow everything that is happening today in Parliament. The State of the Nation address is called in terms of Section 42, subsection 5 of the Constitution by the President of the Republic of South Africa. And as you know, this is a joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament, which are the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Every year, the State of the Nation address has got a theme. And this year's theme is following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. If you remember, last year the theme was making your future work better, learning from Madiba and Umasisulu. Now this year's one is following up on our commitments to the people and making your future work better. Now I'm going to hand over also to Valerie, who's still outside with the choir and can continue giving us the serenading sounds of the parliamentary choir.
Thank you very much, Masiho. Again, ladies and gentlemen, emakhaya, lapho nikhona nisibukela khona, nansi parliamentary choir behind us. They are busy serenading us with their lovely songs, and one of the songs that we had is called Ona Limuna. As I said earlier on, it is said and is known as, it means that the man is here. So as we stand here, we are going to continue to be listening to the choir that will be entertaining us throughout the part of the morning. So bakwethu emakhaya asihlaleni sizilungiselele as umongameli ezoza later on in the day to deliver the State of the Nation address later this evening, just behind the building that is known as the National Assembly, where the laws of the country are made.
Service provider, Hold up.
Good morning, South Africans. This is Valerie Dambuza again. I'm coming live from the precincts of Parliament. Let's remember that today it's the State of the Nation address that is going to be delivered by the State President. Both houses of Parliament are going to have a joint sitting later on today. And in both houses, we have the leadership of the administration. With me now is the Advocate Pindela, who is responsible for the administration in the NCOP. Good morning, Advocate. How are you this morning?
I'm good, yourself?
I'm good. Did you have an early morning today?
Of course, it's a very early morning, and of course it's because of the State of the Nation address.
All right, thank you so much. Advocate, back to the business now. We are going to have a joint sitting today. And in the joint sitting, it's going to be the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Can you explain to the viewers at home what is the joint sitting?
A joint sitting is a sitting of the two houses of Parliament, the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly. And of course, this time around, it's because of the State of the Nation address. The houses will also have an opportunity to debate the State of the Nation address. The debates will take place next week on the 12th, the 13th, and then on the 14th, the President will respond to the debate by members of the two houses.
Thank you, Advocate. We know that in the NCOP, there are rules that govern the debate, as well as in the National Assembly. Does that also apply in the in the joint sitting of both houses?
We do have 3 sets of rules, as you have indicated. The rules that govern the proceedings of the National Council of Provinces, the rules that govern the proceedings of the National Assembly, and the rules that govern the joint sittings of the 2 houses. So the rules that are applicable in the joint sitting are not the rules of the National Assembly, are not the rules of the National Council of Provinces, but are the rules that govern the joint sittings of the House. That's why we refer to them as the joint rules.
How do you actually formulate the joint rules? Is it only the leadership of the administration, or there are other people as well who are involved in the design of the joint rules?
The rules emanate from the Constitution. So each house is given the power by the Constitution to design its own rules. But the joint rules are the responsibility of the 2 houses. So they are designed by the 2 houses.
Thank you very much, Advocate. We are getting ready as well to close the 5th Parliament. Can you just give us your reflections on the 5th Parliament as the leadership of the administration in the NCOP?
Well, as you know, this has been a very interesting term of Parliament, different from the 4th Parliament, different from the 3rd Parliament, different from the 1st Parliament. And we hope that the 6th Parliament will give us even more opportunities to develop the processes, the proceedings, and the rules of the 2 houses, as well as the joint rules. The houses have been very busy. They are still very busy. The National Assembly has not dissolved as yet. The National Council of Provinces has not risen as yet. The committees are still dealing with a lot of business that is before them. They're still dealing with bills. They're still dealing with the reports. We do have a budget also coming. The Division of Revenue Bill, for instance, which will be introduced in the National Assembly, which should be dealt with by the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly. So there's a lot of business that is also currently before the 2 houses. We also had, for instance, during in the National Council of Provinces, taking Parliament to the people. We have been to the Eastern Cape, we've been to the Free State, and we have recently been to Gauteng. So it has been a very, very interesting term of Parliament.
Thank you, Advocate. But what I've also noticed is that the program that quietly rests within the NCOP, taking Parliament to the people, has been around for more or less 18 years now. Have you had developments so that you progress as time progresses in terms of the program really becoming a successful program over the years?
Indeed so. I think the Taking Parliament to the People program has taken a different turn now. If you remember very well, we had the first one in the Western Cape, where we also designed the report back sessions. We have 3 sessions of Taking Parliament to the People. In fact, is a pre-visit, which would be for the House to go out, the committees of the House to go out, visit the area that has been identified, then thereafter followed by the main program. The main program consists of the public hearings, it consists of oversight visits, as well as the report back session. The report back session is an opportunity for the House to report back to members of the public to say, we were here, you raised the following issues, these are the responses from the executive.
Thank you very much. You have given us the segments of the Taking Parliament to the People as the preliminary visits and then the main visit as well as the feedback session. What planning goes into making sure that this program succeeds?
It's a lot of work behind the scenes. If from the face of it, you may think that it's just an easy program, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of planning that goes into it, because we have researchers going out to look at the sites, to compile projects, to look at the projects, to compile profiles, to make sure that when members go there, they have the information that they have to use in order to conduct oversight.
Thank you very much, Advocate. It's a very interesting program. So when then have you achieved in terms of taking Parliament to the people? Because you go back to the communities, you ask them to have input on the thematic topics that you have every year. How successful are you in terms of giving back and dealing with their issues in the community?
As you know, the role of oversight is that of Parliament. And the implementation of whatever comes out of taking Parliament to the people rests with the executive. So it's the responsibility of the House to make sure that it follows up on those issues that have been raised by the members of the public, and for the executive to ensure that they implement whatever comes out of taking Parliament to the people.
Thank you very much, Advocate. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, the theme was for the impact of migration on service delivery. Currently, feedback is still outstanding. Why the theme? Why the theme?
Well, we have been to the Eastern Cape, and the theme in the Eastern Cape was education, precisely because the House had realized that there are a lot of problems insofar as education is concerned in that area. We went to Free State. The theme was around health, precisely because that theme was identified because the House had realized that there are a lot of problems surrounding that area. And in Gauteng, the theme of migration was identified merely because it was relevant to the province. If you look at migration dealt with not only migration from outside, it also dealt with migration from other provinces into Gauteng. Because if you look at migration, you would realize that a lot of people move to urban areas for better jobs, for better health facilities, for better human settlements, and so on and so on. And Gauteng has been the main attraction insofar as migration is concerned. So that is why the House identified migration as a theme.
Thank you very much, Advocate. In terms of moving forward, are you ready to establish the 6th Parliament? And what would be the impact on the work of the NCOP?
Indeed, we are on the way to the 6th Parliament. This State of the Nation address is the last one for the 5th Parliament. We are looking forward to the first one during the 6th Parliament. And indeed, as administration, we have been preparing for the establishment of the 6th Parliament. We have established a project. We have sub-teams that are busy preparing for the establishment of the 6th Parliament. So we are pretty well much on the way towards the establishment of the 6th Parliament.
All right. On the roles of the National Council of Provinces, the 5th Parliament has been raising a lot of issues around the roles. Can you maybe identify 2 roles where you felt you have to make amendments regards to the functions or procedures of the NCOP?
Well, the rules develop as a result of the conventions, as a result of the processes, as a result of practices in the House. So our rules will respond to any development that may arise during the 6th Parliament. We have seen our rules developing, our practices, our conventions developing as a result of the current 5th Parliament.
You speak of conventions. Can you recall maybe 1 or 2 conventions that have an influence on how the rules have been changing over the years? Or maybe one, just for us viewers at home and myself?
No, you know, if you look at the differences between the 5th and the 4th Parliament, we have never dealt with, for instance, disruptions of the proceedings during the 4th Parliament, during the 3rd Parliament, and even during the 1st and the 2nd Parliament. During the 5th Parliament, we have seen the houses being disrupted, and as a result of that, the rules also responded to those issues.
Advocate, thank you so much. I think you have said a mouthful. It's been a morning of information. Now coming back to the Secretary of the NCOP, what are you taking from the 5th Parliament?
Well, what I'm taking from the 5th Parliament are the experiences, the guidance from the presiding officers, our Chief Whip, the development of the rules, the development in the houses, the manner in which the question sessions have developed, the manner in which the proceedings of the House have been conducted. So I'm taking that experience with me into the 6th Parliament.
Thank you, Advocate. Regarding now the procedures for today and also the procession, I've noticed that you actually participate in the procession. What is your role in the procession in today's event?
Well, as you would know, this is the State of the Nation address, and you have all the spheres of government, all the organs of government here. And we have different processions. We have the procession by the executive. We have the procession by the judiciary. We also have the procession by the legislature. You would know that we have the procession, for instance, by the premiers. We have of the provinces. We have procession by the speakers of the provincial legislatures. We also have the procession by the judiciary. I lead the procession by the judiciary. I guide them into the house.
Is there any reason for that, Advocate?
Yes, as I've indicated, of course, is to guide them into the house.
Advocate, it's been a pleasure talking to you, and I hope you viewers at home, you have learned quite a lot about the procedures and actually what happens in the National Council of Provinces. Advocate, have a lovely day. Hope to see you later again. Thank you, viewers. Now we are going to also have a look at the joint sitting in the National Assembly, of which you are also going to see it live happening later this evening. Over to you, studio.
The State of the Nation address is convened when the President writes to the Speaker asking for him to come and address the nation on a certain day. This letter will obviously, for administration purposes, be sent to the Secretary, to the National Assembly to start with the preparations. The call is for a joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Members of both houses get together for their address by the President. The responsibility of both tables is shared on the day. We do the normal thing that we do when there is an ordinary sitting of the House. But on this particular occasion, because it is the State of the Nation address, the work is shared between the National Assembly table staff members and the NCOP table staff members. There will be a procedural guide that is prepared by either the NCOP or the NA table staff. We prepare a skeleton of the minutes. What we also do is we check that the order of proceedings is correct. The order of proceedings that is prepared by our protocol office. We check that the times and the words that are used in this document really are saying the kinds of things that will happen on the day. The most important document of the day is actually the order paper. In ordinary parlance, it can be called the agenda of the day. We make sure that, first of all, there is an order paper and that the order paper is loaded on the system that we have in the chamber, so that when members of parliament come, they will see that, in fact, what we have loaded and what appears on the order paper is the address by the President of the nation. Once the President has given the State of the Nation address, members of the National Assembly are given a chance to respond to that State of the Nation address, and thereafter the President comes back to reply to what the issues members have brought up.
Greetings, fellow South Africans. The 2019 State of the Nation Address is scheduled for the 7th February at 7 in the evening. The theme this year is following up on our commitments, making your future work better. This theme underpins Parliament's endeavor to continuously intensify its commitment and service to the people and to ensure a truly united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous South Africa.
The State of the Nation Address is called in terms of Section 42 of the Constitution by the President of the Republic. It is a joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament and one of the rare occasions that brings together the three arms of state under one roof. The address affords the President an opportunity to speak to the nation on the general state of South Africa, to account to the nation on the work of government, and to set out its annual program of action. This State of the Nation address is the last for this current term of Parliament and will be broadcast on various media platforms.
Namkelekile.
Viewers at home, you must be wondering, when was these buildings established in Parliament where the President will be delivering the State of the Nation address? Just behind me, this is the last of the building to be built in the precinct of Parliament. That is where the President will be making his delivery address regarding the situation in our country. This building is known as the National Assembly. The National Assembly was built roundabout in the 1980s, mainly for ceremonial purposes. Later on, in the development of the tricameral parliament, then it became the house where decisions of the tricameral parliament were made. Inside the chamber, we had three representatives. We had a house that represented the House of Delegates, who had a meeting in E249 during those days. And then we had the House of Representatives, which represented the colored community. The colored community met in one of the oldest buildings in the precinct that we know today as the National Council of Provinces Chamber. That building was built by the English in 1875, and it was completed in 1885. And prior to that, they used the slave lodge as their parliament. When the Constitution of South Africa was developed in 2006, then the NCOP, then it was known as the Senate, but later on, then it became the NCOP. The Constitution was not developed in 2006, but in 1996. That is when South Africa had the Constitution of South Africa. The Senate today, referred to as the National Council of Provinces, houses all the representatives of the 9 provinces of South Africa. Each province sends 10 delegates to represent each province. But out of the 10, 6 of them will be permanent for the duration of that term. Like in the 5th term, the 6 permanent delegates from each provinces will then rise at the end of the 5th parliament term. The next building to be built in the precinct of Parliament is what we called the Old Assembly Chamber. The Old Assembly Chamber came about when South Africa became a union in 1910. Who made up the union? The union was made up of the Cape Colony, Natal Colony, Transvaal, and the Orange Free State. So moving from the Senate, it meant a change also in where they hold their meetings. So when the union was formed, and then everybody moved in what we know today as the Old Assembly Chamber. And then we fast track, and then later on South Africa went on elections, our first democratic elections, and then the Old Assembly Chamber stopped as being the house where the laws were made. And then because of the 1994 first democratic elections, then today we use the National Assembly, where it houses 400 members of the National Assembly. Remember that these 400 members of the National Assembly, they represent all the political parties that won the elections in 2014. So ladies and gentlemen, nanonke emakhaya nabantwana nababukeli nogogo nosisi nobhuti, sithi ke kunina yilapho umongameli namhlanje ezobethula khona inkulumo yakhe yesizwe kule term ye-5th parliament. Umongameli ke uzobe khuluma inkulumo yakhe namhlanje la ku-National Assembly esibiza ngokuthi yindlu yowisomthetho kazwelonke. In the National Assembly, the president will be welcomed by the members of the NCOP as well as the members of the National Assembly. So in the middle of the chamber, you will see a group of people sitting. Those are the delegates that represent all the provinces, as I said earlier on. And then as you watch the speaker taking her seat, as well as the chairperson of the NCOP taking over to preside over the debate, you will notice a lot of people around. So right round the NCOP delegates will be the members of the National Assembly. Everybody will be ready to hear the president deliver the State of the Nation address. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the history of the buildings of Parliament. We started with the NCOP and then followed by the old Assembly Chamber and finally the National Assembly, where the president will deliver the State of the Nation address for the 5th Parliament. Over to you, Masigo, in the studio.
Thank you, Valerie. Given that the State of the Nation address is delivered at a joint sitting, the chairperson of the NCOP and the Speaker of the National Assembly both preside over the sitting. Mr. Ndimudise, who is the chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, joins me now in studio. Dumela Meta Ndimudise wa mogelegile mo Parliament TV. Can you take us through what is your role as a presiding officer in the National Council of Provinces?
The National Council of Provinces?
Yes.
The National Council of Provinces chairperson is part of the executive authority of Parliament. It means that Parliament has two heads, equal. It means that we ensure that the House does what the Constitution is saying it must do. It holds the executive to account. It makes laws, it goes out. But over and above that, the Constitution gives the National Council of Provinces a little bit of extra powers. It gives us the power to say yes or no in the interventions of Section 100. It gives us yes or no in Section 100. So we have been struggling to get to a point where we can actually separate that power from being influenced by an MEC or by a minister, to get the NCOP to specifically say this is our role and this is what we are going to do. We also are the house that really does intergovernmental relations, because we bring all three spheres together, but we also bring both the executive and the backbencher on an equal basis on our benches when they come to the NCOP. The Constitution says that the Premier leads the delegation, but the Premier of a province is not the custodian of the resolutions of the House. But even in that manner, when they come in there, they will be recognized like any other member. So it equates provinces, it equates the levels of government, it equates the different spheres. So it is a strategic house. We are hoping that there will be a real look into the future on the size of the Council of Provinces. But we have already been working to reduce that which is unnecessarily placed on the menu of the NCOP so that it can be enabled to furl out its wings and to do exactly what it should be doing.
Okay. You spoke of the struggle that you have with the Section 100 interventions. Do you have any recommendations, considering that we are wrapping up now the 5th term of Parliament, for the upcoming 6th Parliament in terms of that?
We do. We have actually worked out a document which, for now, the ANC is looking at. But we also think it's a very straightforward. It is written in very simple English, and all lawyers can interpret it. It says that the NCOP, when it comes to Section 100, can agree that it is necessary or can disagree that it is not necessary. And once it has made up its mind, it's the final word.
Yes. You were a member of Parliament before this term. Now, this time you came as a presiding officer. Now, can you tell us what is the difference between just then and now when you are serving as a presiding officer?
Look, I was here from 1994 to 2004. I served in those first 10 years, 8 of them were spent as a chairperson of the Joint Standing Committee on Defense and, at the same time, of the Portfolio Committee on Defense. I think at that time we were learning, but we actually went all out to make sure that we empowered ourselves. And they were robust. And when I look back, the quality of debates on the floor of Parliament was far higher. I think at that time, the first 10 years, all parties had brought their top politicians here. So then we began to understand what parliamentary democracy was, and those first 10 years also showed us where the weaknesses were. Now, I was lucky because I then went to the province. I then, as a speaker, had some time off politics, formal politics, and then came back to politics as a premier. So for me, being in the NCOP and understanding all the spheres of government has been a matter which I started right from 1994 to come here. It's been a great journey. It's important because in 1996, then Speaker Frini allowed some of us to travel the world to study what oversight and holding the executive to account is all about. So, yes, for me, it's been good. I am mostly critical sometimes. At the beginning of 2014, for instance, I was completely unhappy. Now I am completely proud of the quality of the debates that come out of the NCOP.
Okay. And previously you used to be a chairperson of the ad hoc committee for the ratification of the convention to eliminate all forms of discrimination against women in the National Assembly.
Yes.
Now you can, what is the progress that you think Parliament has made, especially with focus on this term of Parliament, to eliminate discrimination against women?
I think Parliament has consistently, we send annually a delegation to the UN. We participate in all international fora which look at the progress of women. We have been party to treaties, to the laws. We have debates in the House. We even have a sectoral parliament in the. But effectively, I think in 1994, I was more empowered as a member of parliament who, because when I came here, my last born was on the breast. She was 8 months old. And the facilities which were unfolded, because it wasn't, we didn't find them. But the recognition of the conditions under which we as young women and women generally worked, I think we have taken a knock as Parliament. I think when you look at the mixture of women in Parliament, you now have more women at childbearing stage. You have also the other extreme, very old members of Parliament who are women. You have a system that no longer really accommodates members of Parliament to enjoy their roles as mothers, as wives, as grandmothers, and as proud people's representatives. So we're looking at that. We're looking at where we went wrong. We're looking at how we can bring back and even enhance. We are also not just looking at that. We're looking at how you connect the South African Parliament and bring it up to speed with other parliaments of the world when it comes to IT. We are behind. We're looking at how you can do oversight easier when you are a member of Parliament sometimes on your own, and what that would, and how you would control that system. So we've come a long way, but I must say that we've also seen over the last 5 years an increase in the robustness of engagement by Parliament at committee level and in the floors of the houses. Remember, it is through backbenchers that the ESCOM inquiry came about. It is through backbenchers that the competencies or non-competencies or effectiveness of the police was shouted out. It is through members of parliament that attention has been called on violence against the girl child and the woman. So we must keep those things up. It is Parliament that is now screaming to say that sign language definitely must be the 12th language, official language of this country. And as the NCOP, we're very unashamedly pushing that agenda. It has to be formalized. It has to come into place.
Okay, what are some of the challenges that you can tell us about that you face as a woman in a mostly male-dominated place, like area of work?
Well, I can tell you, I come with my history, and I've always been in an area where women don't. I remember when I first became commander, I was the only one. It was a male. So for me personally, you throw me wherever you go, I will try and do what I can do. I have never believed that you perform better because you've got certain things.
You grab the bull by the horns.
Yeah, you do. and that is how we should be raising our children, that when opportunities come, your gender is not called into question. It is your ability and your preparedness to exert yourself to achieve that is important. So if we must cut anything, it would be to educate South African women to exert themselves a little bit more. It would be to reassure South African men not to be afraid, to open up and to allow the space. Yes.
Elections are coming up. I'm hoping the president will announce the date of the elections. Ke ofe molaetsa o nang le one mo basheng bogolosegolo ba ene gore tla ba simolla go a ditlhophong?
Ba itlhatlhwaetse, ba ikemisetse because ke bone batjha, ke bone future. Ba tsamaye ba ye go kgetha, ba seka ba ema go dikhoneng ba ngongorega ba re dilo ga di diragale, because they must get involved. They must get their voices in there. They must actually hold us to account. But they must also begin to get themselves into these institutions so that they can actually begin to understand how it works. It's a simple thing for somebody to stand in the street and say, I want free education now. They must get into the pot so that you then begin, even in the public, and Bacha Baba Rutegile would actually do us a great job if they could come out and be the first line of public education on this happens, so, and this happens, so, and this is our responsibility. But I would also say, young people by South Africa, get involved into politics. But that politics must not be a politics that destroys our property, your property into the future, because what cost the state a few thousand rands many years ago to build now costs millions. So you might, in fact, be diverting a lot of more resources into rebuilding what was there rather than restarting and pushing new agendas which we really need into the future.
Okay, now that remove Kutlong jwa 5th Parliament, in some of the highlights, or happy ones, of course, some of your happy highlights or outstanding moments that you can tell us about during this term of Parliament?
I actually enjoy it every time I see consensus across the floor.
Okay.
I like listening to hot debates amongst parliamentarians. Basa Dumalane, but Bali on point, each one putting their point across without being crude. I like the hugs I see across the parties. I like the fact that in the NCOP it has become tradition. When we part, we hug. When we come back, we hug and kiss. Because Sesalang, we serve the same country. We differ on the floor when we debate, but I want to say that I have seen friendships built. We have improved on the programs that we inherited. Our Taking Parliament to the People, I think, is the program of Parliament now. I do regret, though, that the resources of Parliament have not enabled us to really become the last point where South Africans, ordinary, desperate South Africans, come to on petitions. And whoever it is that will take over from Mambete and I'm hoping that resources, replanning, and repositioning of the Petitions Committee of Parliament will be prioritized, because that's where the ordinary person comes when all else has failed.
And thank you very much for your time, and I wish you all the best. I'm sure you've got a busy day ahead today, so we don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you very much for giving us your time.
We're
going to cross over now to Ayanda Konzi, who's going to give you a social media update.
Yes, we're getting it. Take the pictures.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Beautiful. Welcome back. You're still on Parliament TV, and we live from Cape Town. I'm still Ayanda Konzi, here outside, interacting with everyone that's here this morning, taking selfies. I'm hoping they're going to post them live on any one of our social media platforms. That's on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. And you better use the hashtag SONA 2019 and hashtag ParlyLive. So do make sure that if you're in and around the precinct, there's a number of the photo things coming through. So better make sure if you're in and around the precinct, find one, take a picture, and do use our hashtags. And don't forget, the State of the Nation address will be live streamed on our YouTube channel. All our social media links are at Parliament of RSA. And now we're going to be linking through to a short video for you to watch. Studio, take it away.
Wat ek wil hê die president moet sê is, hy moet vir ons vertel wat gaan hy doen aan al hierdie plaasmoorde en die boere wat die land moet versorg. Want een van die dae is ons Zimbabwe. En ons boere gaan nie na Zimbabwe toe gaan nie. Ons het nie geveg vir hierdie land vir niks en vir onnodig. Ons het almal saamgekom in 1994 en ons wil hê die land moet regkom. Dit wat Nelson Mandela gesê het, gebeur nie.
I feel as though if there is a State of a Nation address, if you're addressing issues, take action on those issues. Don't just speak. Do something about it.
I'd like to hear.
Today, as you know, for the State of the Nation address will be broadcast live from Parliament TV. And also people who could not make it to Cape Town, of course, not everybody can make it to Cape Town. There will be public viewing areas where you can go and view as the President delivers the State of the Nation address. I'm going to read out to you these places that you can go to visit to watch the State of the Nation address. In the Eastern Cape, in the Nelson Mandela Bay Municipality, you can go to Collegiate Girls High School. And in BCMM local municipality, which is Buffalo City Metro, it's WSU, Berlin, Potsdam. There's a big screen there available to go watch the President. And in Enoch Mgijima municipality, in Marialo High School, and in Nguma, and it will be in Walter Sisulu University in Butterworth. And in DBNLM, it's Spandau High School in Grafrenet. And then King Sabata Dalingebo local municipality in the Eastern Cape, it will be KSD TVET College. And in the Free State, Free State Lebala, Chabeng local municipality, Unitas Secondary School, Free State, and then also Kongwate local municipality. Venue itlabe ile Linzwe FM, Mantsopa local municipality, Retlabereloko Manyatseng Taxi Association Hall, and ko Gauteng in Tshwane it will be in Bophelong Community Center Hospice, in Randfontein High School, 1 Elu Road, and in Boksburg it will be in Boksburg Correctional Facility. In Cosmo City will be in Cosmo Multipurpose, and in Sidibeng local municipality it will be in Sharpeville Community Center. Ko Limpopo, Baphalabora, Retlabereloko Priska Village, President the State of the Nation address, and Makurutamaga local municipality in Matibeng Village, And Mokgopong local municipality, Eretlaberloko community hall ya Mokgopong. And Capricorn local municipality, ko Capricorn FET. In KwaZulu-Natal, Umsunduzi, Esuguma High School, Umuzi Wabantu, Harding Secondary School, and Dumeni in Msinga High School, in Ilembe District Municipality, it is a Shallcross Community Hall, and Durban Central in Durban City Hall. In Emadlangeni High School, Jozini, in Mandla High School, Abaqulusi Local Municipality, a Frehead Comprehensive High School. In Mpumalanga, Mbombela, zobe ise TUT Mbombela Campus, Elekwa Local Municipality, a Standerton Correctional Center, Emalahleni in Witbank Correctional Center. In the Northern Cape, in Umsobomvu, in Colesbeck, Solplaki Local Municipality in Kimberley, in Karoo Hoogland in Frasesburg, and in David Greper in Uppington. Ko Northwest Bukonibu Pirima, ko Rustenburg, Ratlaberle ko Rustenburg Youth Correctional Center, and le kwa Temaning Local Municipality, kwa Amalia Community Hall. Mafikeng Local Municipality, kwa Lonely Park Youth Center, kwa Lompaka Mohaitsu, okanewa holebala koteng. City of Matlosana in Milner High School, JB Marks Municipality, Potchefstroom Dam. Kwa Western Cape, Brede Valley in Esselen Park Secondary School, and Beaufort West in Beaufort West Tusong Center. In Overstrand Municipality, it will be in Masakane Hall in Gansbaai. In George Municipality at Uniondale. In Swartland Local Municipality, in Ilingeletu Tusong Center, Cape Town, Emasiphumelele Hall, and also at Taj Conference Center. At the head office in Tshwane, Zonderwater Prison. So as you know, also the people who are in Cape Town, there have been road closures that have been taking place since the 5th when we're preparing for the State of the Nation address during the rehearsals. And this road closure, there'll be complete road closures in some parts of Cape Town. And now we're going to be showing you Cape Town motorists and pedestrians are going to be affected around to these because of these road closures. Now we're going to cross over to Valerie, who's going to proceed with an interview. Valerie, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Masikho. I am with the Speaker of the National Assembly, Umamubalega Mbete. You definitely know her from the National Assembly, and as well that she has been the Speaker at the different terms of Parliament, the 3rd and the 5th Parliament of South Africa. So we are going to have an interview with her just to understand how actually the plans have gone for this joint sitting. Molo Mama.
Molo Sisi.
Unjani namhlanje?
Khona ninjani?
I'm good. How is your morning so far?
Well, it's a beautiful morning and I feel excited. There's music behind me. It's happening. Clearly the day is here.
Okay, thank you. Mama, just to back to the business now, can you just tell the viewers at home, are you ready to host the joint sitting of today?
We are as ready as it is possible because, you know, we have been at this for many years, for more than 20 years. So we know the ropes. Our colleagues in the executive work with us. We help one another because we will be hosting all 3 arms of the state in today's sitting, which is a joint sitting. Instead of having one house, both houses will also be there in terms of members of parliament. And it's our last sitting of this nature in this 5th term.
Thank you, Mama. I've realized, Speaker, that you have made quite extensive changes in terms of the spending for this State of the Nation address. Can you just make the nation aware? What measures have you taken in order to make sure that there isn't a lot of wastage this year?
Let me start off by saying that years ago already, we started not to have the dinners that we used to host at the ICC. Remember, we used to take people in buses and take them to the ICC, and we would have a band and we would have an evening, a beautiful gathering. But this time, as we have done throughout this time actually, We said, no, we can't afford it. Because remember, we were all asked to have haircuts by the then Minister of Finance. So, secondly, we decided that we should scale down precisely because we are going to have 2 sessions where we will be hosting as Parliament the State of the Nation address by the President. So we thought this time round, let's not have the junior guards, whereby we used to get children from schools around here and they would be part of the happenings here in Parliament. So they would get to experience Parliament, which is a good thing for children to grow up understanding that they are actually part of this nation. They are future adult citizens. The other group that we have cut down on is the veterans. And the veterans would always make us have to pay a lot more money even than the others, because we would have to get each province to get us identify, the legislature in that province would identify those veterans, and we would then pay the costs for them to travel from all over South Africa to come here and host them for breakfast throughout the day and make sure that if they have to sleep, they sleep well and they go back home well. So all of that has enabled us to cut more than 1 million rents.
So in total, how much have you budgeted for?
We had thought we would pay more than 2 million, but as it is, we are paying 1.9 million at the end of this whole event.
Then do you mean, Speaker, that in the 6th Parliament, when the State of the Nation address as well happened by the new president, will the approach be the same as well, or there we are going to expect junior guards and also the eminent persons?
When we start the new term, the 6th term, we expect that largely things will go according to the normal approach of how we host a State of the Nation address. Remember also, we are wrapping up a term that was not started by this president. And now when we come back after June, after the next elections, President Ramaphosa would be the president that is now coming into a whole full term, as opposed to him having come in at the tail end of a term that he had not started. So it is an occasion, it would be for a lot of celebration. It would be the start of a lot of new things that we don't even know. We will hear when at that point he would be addressing the nation under a new set of circumstances.
Thank you, Speaker. The fifth Parliament has been extremely robust and active.
So we're very happy about the fact that it was exciting, it was energetic, it was full of new things.
Can you just tell us about some of the things that were happening in the National Assembly? How did you find the strength to deal with some of the decisions that you had to make?
To start with, we were brought up during the struggle for the liberation of South Africa to be ready to be plunged into any situation. You had to be ready for the unknown. So you were never just sitting there sort of like it's got to be the same way I've always had. No, you had to be there to be ready for any development. And therefore, the fifth term was actually an exciting one. Not that I enjoyed every moment.
Thank you for that. So which moment was not the most enjoyable one?
The moments of too much drama, I think, were not enjoyable.
Speaker, besides you being the Speaker of the National Assembly, you also are engaged in other international activities as the Speaker. And I know that you've been to Seychelles, I know you've been to Switzerland, but the one that stood out for me was your visit in New York, where there was a conference or seminar on the status of women. Can you just bring the viewers on board what really happened there, especially in terms of the status of women in Parliament?
Now you catch me unawares, and of course I say I've got to be ready. But there are many conferences I've attended where we dealt with that issue. And I remember one specific one where, as the speakers of the parliaments of the world, we came together, and this was preceding the summit, the World Summit of Heads of States that adopted the Sustainable Development Goals. I remember us on that occasion, that issue of the status of women came up quite sharply and was made by a number of women speakers that were participating on that occasion. And we were talking about the value, that is contributed in the content and the quality of the lives of the nations of the world by participation of women's leadership. And we were saying that, therefore, even the issue of parliaments and the involvement and the leadership by women speakers was a key area for nations around the globe to think about and to work at deliberately and to make sure that, in fact, we increase the number of women leaders at all levels in the lives of nations.
Speaker, thank you for that input. I think it comes out very strongly, especially around Africa. Do you think then Africa is making progress as a whole in terms of promoting women in the political sphere of each country?
I think we've made progress, but I think there's still more that can be done. So the more we do, the more we are deliberate in engaging about these matters, the better.
Thank you, Speaker. On a lighter note now, any chances of you taking retirement after the 5th Parliament?
Well, I thought I was doing the right thing and beginning to think about that. I was very quickly and nicely put in my place by being told that it's not for me to decide that. It's not my decision, and as we speak, I know I am coming back, but I don't know as what. I might be coming back to sit in the back benches because you say I must retire.
No, Speaker, I didn't say that. But otherwise, what are your reflections? What would you see Parliament improving, especially after the 5th Parliament, as we move forward to the 6th Parliament? What improvements do you think Parliament or the National Assembly needs to embark on?
I think for a start, South Africa, it's time for a totally new parliament, not in any other province, right across the road, where we brought down a building so that we could build a beautiful parliament with enough space for all the activities that members of parliament are involved in here. South Africa, when we have to have committee meetings, some of them have to go to a hotel down the road and hire the space, because this was not an adequate parliament for a new South Africa. It was adequate for the small parliament from only one corner of our society that used to operate here. We have since, for 25 years, come in large numbers. We have had members that are many more than when this parliament was first built. We now have a lot more staff members that have to be accommodated. We don't have enough space. And the new South Africa has to honor itself by building a new parliament that has enough space. That is not squeezed the way that, for instance, we will be squeezed when we host the president tonight, where we can't even properly accommodate the auto cue for him to read better in a manner that he would like to do and which he has seen other heads of states doing. And we, as the South African Parliament, would like to give him those conditions, but were unable to because the space is too squeezed.
Thank you, Speaker. On that note, with the closure of the 5th Parliament, I believe that there's a legacy report that is already in progress. Can you just tell us, the South African community, what does that legacy report is going to entail, or what will you be looking at as an ending to the 5th Parliament?
Well, broadly, it will look at some of the areas that when we came here in 2014, we set ourselves out to achieve. We work both at the level of this institution, that is a national institution, but we also work at the level of a forum where we come together as legislatures, and therefore we call ourselves the legislative sector, as all legislatures around the provinces, and we come together as the Speakers Forum. And at that level, we again have been working on a range of areas, including how we improve the way that the legislative sector is given money from the national fiscus and therefore enabled to achieve everything that it would like to achieve. We must say that we've made progress, but we can make more progress. I believe in the 6th term, we still have a meeting of a delegation from the whole Speakers Forum with the head of state to take further some of these discussions.
Speaker, it's always a pleasure to interact with you. And Mama, thank you so much for your time. And if Mama has time, can you just take a selfie for us so that the viewers of South Africa can see the Speaker?
I wonder if you have a selfie.
Speaker, thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Viewers at home, that was the Speaker of the National Assembly.
You can also join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag SONA2019. For updates, visit parliament.gov.za. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. Parliament is hosting the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday, 7 February 2019 at 7 p.m. Due to the ceremony of state, Cape Town motorists and pedestrians are advised of temporary road closures and parking restrictions in and around Parliament on 7 February 2019. There will be parking restrictions in the following areas: Clipper Road between Main Road and M3, M3 between Princess Anne Avenue and Philip Khosana Drive, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands, Church Square, corner of Spin and Parliament Streets, Ruland Street between Plain and Brandweer Streets, Plain Street between Ruland and Long Market Streets, Spin Street between Parliament and Plain Streets, Parliament Street between Long Market and Bureau Streets, Hatfield and St. John's Streets between Ruland and Orange Streets, Adderley Street between Whale and Strand Streets, St. Mary's Cathedral parking area between Bouquet and Ruland Streets, Gallery Lane, Queen Victoria Street, Commercial Street between Batenkant and Plain Streets, Barak Street between Batenkant and Plain Streets, Alberta Street between Batenkant and Corporation Streets, Caledon Street between Batenkant and Corporation Streets, Mostert Street between Batenkant and Plain Streets, Long Market Street between Batenkant Street and St. George's Mall, Whale Street up to Queen Victoria Street, Hope Street from Ruland to Wesley Streets, Harrington Street between Ruland and Darling Streets, Parade Street between Darling and Barak Streets, Darling Street between Parade and Canterbury Streets, Glen and Wesley Streets between Hope and Baden-Gun Streets, Baden-Gun Street between Darling and Wesley Streets, Avenue Street and Paddock Street, Church Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street, Long Market Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street. The following roads will close between 6 a.m. and 11:45 p.m. Church Square, Ruland Street between Plain and Baden-Gun Streets, closure of Company Gardens, Government Avenue from Orange Street to Wales Street, Plain Street from Long Market Street to Ruland Street, St. John Street from Ruland Street to Frede Street, Gallery Lane, Bouquet Street, Hope Street between Ruland and Glen Streets, Wesley Street between Baden-Gun and Hope Streets, Glen Streets between Baden-Gun and Hope Streets, Wales Street between Queen Victoria and Adderley Streets, Bureau Street between Adderley and Parliament Streets, Spin and Mostert Streets between Corporation and Parliament Streets, Parliament Street from the gates of Parliament to Long Market Street, Commercial Street between Plain and Baden-Gun Streets, where it becomes bi-directional. Wesley and Glen Streets between Hope and Baden-Gun Streets, where it becomes bi-directional. And there will be road closures on the following roads from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Baden-Gun Street between Darling and Strand Streets, Darling Street between Baden-Gun and Canterbury Streets, Harrington Street between Darling and Ruland Streets, and the following roads will be closed between 5:45 p.m. to 7 p.m. Clipper Road in Newlands from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands from Newlands Avenue to Union Avenue, Newlands Avenue in Newlands from Dean Street to Princess Anne Avenue, Dean Street in Newlands westbound from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, M3 Union Avenue, Rose Drive, Philip Khosana Drive, Ruland Street, city-bound carriageway from Newlands Avenue to City Centre, Woolsack Drive in Rondebosch westbound between Main Road M4 and Rhodes Drive M3, Anzio Road in Observatory from Main Road M4 to Philip Khosana Drive, N2 Settlers Way city-bound carriageway from Main Road M4 to City Centre. And the following roads will be closed between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Ruland Street between Baden-Gun and Brandweer Streets. Parliament apologizes for any inconveniences caused. Parliament is hosting the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday, 7 February 2019 at 7 p.m. Due to the ceremony of state, Cape Town motorists and pedestrians are advised of temporary road closures and parking restrictions in and around Parliament on 7 February 2019. There will be parking restrictions in the following areas: Clipper Road between Main Road and M3, M3 between Princess Anne Avenue and Philip Khosana Drive, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands, Church Square, corner of Spin and Parliament Streets, Ruland Street between Plain and Brandweer Streets, Plain Street between Ruland and Long Market Streets, Spin Street between Parliament and Plain Streets, Parliament Street between Long Market and Bureau Streets, Hatfield and St. John's Streets between Ruland and Orange Streets, Adderley Street between Whale and Strand Streets, St. Mary's Cathedral parking area between Bouquet and Ruland Streets, Gallery Lane, Queen Victoria Street, Commercial Street between Baden-Gun and Plain Streets, Barak Street between Baden-Gun and Plain Streets, Alberta Street between Baden-Gun and Corporation Streets, Caledon Street between Baden-Gun and Corporation Streets, Mostert Street between Baden-Gun and Plain Streets, Long Market Street between Baden-Gun Street and St. George's Mall, Whale Street up to Queen Victoria Street, Hope Street from Ruland to Wesley Streets, Harrington Street between Ruland and Darling Streets, Parade Street between Darling and Barak Streets, Darling Street between Parade and Canterbury Streets, Glen and Wesley Streets between Hope and Badengan Streets, Badengan Street between Darling and Wesley Streets, Avenue Street and Paddock Street, Church Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street, Long Market Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street. The following roads will close between 6 a.m. and 11:45 p.m. Church Square, Ruland Street between Plain and Badengan Streets, closure of Company Gardens, Government Avenue from Orange Street to Wales Street, Plain Street from Long Market Street to Ruland Street, St. John Street from Ruland Street to Frede Street, Gallery Lane, Bouquet Street, Hope Street between Ruland and Glen Streets, Wesley Street between Batenkant and Hope Streets, Glen Streets between Batenkant and Hope Streets, Wales Street between Queen Victoria and Adderley Streets, Bureau Street between Adderley and Parliament Streets, Spin and Mostert Streets between Corporation and Parliament Streets, Parliament Street from the gates of Parliament to Long Market Street, Commercial Street between Plain and Batenkant Streets where it becomes bi-directional, Wesley and Glen Streets between Hope and Batenkant Streets where it becomes bi-directional. And there will be road closures on the following roads from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Batenkant Street between Darling and Strand Streets, Darling Street between Batenkant and Canterbury Streets, Harrington Street between Darling and Ruland Streets, and the following roads will be closed between 5:45 p.m. to 7 p.m. Clipper Road in Newlands from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands from Newlands Avenue to Union Avenue, Newlands Avenue in Newlands from Dean Street to Princess Anne Avenue, Dean Street in Newlands, westbound from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, M3 Union Avenue, Rose Drive, Philip Khosana Drive, Ruland Street, city-bound carriageway from Newlands Avenue to City Centre, Woolsack Drive in Rondebosch westbound between Main Road M4 and Rose Drive M3, Anzio Road in Observatory from Main Road M4 to Philip Khosana Drive, N2 Settlers Way city-bound carriageway from Main Road M4 to City Centre. And the following roads will be closed between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Ruland Street between Batenkant and Brandweer Streets. Parliament apologizes for any inconveniences caused.
Viewers at home, we have touched on several interviews this morning, starting with the advocate of the National Council of Provinces, and then we had an interview with the Speaker of the National Assembly, and now I'm with the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Mr. Raseriti Tao. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Valerie, and good morning to the viewers.
How are you this morning?
I'm okay. I'm quite ecstatic and looking forward to a beautiful day.
Thank you very much. Chairperson, just give us a brief background on what exactly do you do in the National Council of Provinces?
Well, as the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council, my responsibilities are assigned, in actual fact, by the Chairperson. That is what you call delegated responsibilities as the executive authority. And central to that, I was responsible for mainly organizing sectoral parliaments, deputizing the chair in the absence of the chair, assuming the responsibilities of the chair in the House, whether it coming to presiding over the programming committee, the rules committee, and even the House in the absence of the chair, on assisting the chair in presiding over the business of the House. But there are other things as well that might not be documented that the chair would assign to me to assist in ensuring that the life of the House is felt on the ground and so forth. So, yeah.
For the viewers' sake and a number of people, you say some other things that you are engaging or some of the responsibilities you are engaged with are actually not documented. Can you just maybe give us two of those undocumented responsibilities that you have?
For instance, the coordination of the provincial weeks, the coordination of the Taking Parliament to the People's program, leading other groups in ensuring that we strengthen our oversight capacity, assisting also the committees, working together with the House Chairperson responsible for committees, including the House Chairperson also for international relations and members' interest and so forth. So those are that may not be necessarily documented, but those are responsibilities that one would be assigned to. You take, for instance, the committee on petitions. It might not be documented, but the chair would ask me to assist with regard to the functioning of that committee, making follow-ups on commitments that have been made to whoever might have brought a petition before the National Council of Provinces.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson. An interesting point there is around the petitions that I'm just want to pick up. Can you just tell the viewers exactly what is the process? Because most of the time, citizens are not able to come to Parliament to deliver their petitions. So what processes should they follow if they are eager anywhere around the country to send a petition? Can you just give them a brief overview of what is expected when one prepares a petition for the NCOP?
To be honest, that's one of the key challenges that we have experienced, and not only in the 5th Parliament, but in the 4th and the 3rd Parliament as well, particularly with regard to the National Council of Provinces. If you look at the number of members who are full-time in the National Council of Provinces, that committee in itself, the capacity of that committee, its ability to meet, its ability to make follow-ups, because it draws its members from other committees in order to make up that particular committee. And as a result, it has not been able to reach out as much as we would have loved for it to reach out. And as a result, it has really impacted on how our people are able to understand and interact with that committee. Therefore, that means if you look at the kind of petitions that we have received so far, are petitions that would normally come through our flagship programs, like Taking Parliament to the People, provincial weeks, and even during constituency periods when members are interacting with their constituencies in a direct basis now. That's when now people would be submitting their petitions. Yes, of course, there are those, with the exception of those in the rural areas and so forth. But from the urban areas, we do receive faxes, we do receive emails, we do receive letters from those who can access, the postal services, your net, what is it, cafes, internet cafes and so forth. So, but that will be mainly from those who are in the urban areas and so forth. That is why we actually adopted Taking Parliament to the People and the provincial weeks as key flagship programs that allows members of the National Council of Provinces, because we represent provinces, it allows us it gives us better space to be able to go out and reach out to our people, particularly those whom would necessarily not be able even to meet or to get to a cafe, or even to come to Parliament to stage a march and all those sorts of things. Hence, if you look at the nature of our these two flagship programs, we always insist that we don't go to urban areas. We always, if you pick up a province, we would look at the most distant district in that province, the most rural district in that particular province, where we would ordinarily know that young people would not be able to come to Cape Town, young people would not be able to reach out to a postal service and so forth. So that's how we have designed it. It's just, well, unfortunate with Gauteng. The temptation is always there because there are it's not a rural province as such. But if you look at the Western Cape, we went as far as George, you know, and all those places. You look at the Eastern Cape, we went as far as, you know, but it's in the we always choose the rural areas. Northern Cape, we went to JTG, or the John Taula Gaitsewe district or region. And in that district will then be hosted by the most inaccessible or rural municipality. Then that becomes the host in that sense.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Touching on the two flagship programs, taking Parliament to the people as well as the Provincial Week, I just want to find out, in terms of the public participation model that has been with the fourth Parliament to fifth Parliament, so what has been the developments since it was introduced in the fourth Parliament? Are there any progress in order to mitigate these challenges where people cannot send petitions, where people cannot actually have real access in terms of putting their issues across, whether be it opinions, whether be it recommendations from the citizens?
To be honest, the fifth Parliament, because it's an evolving thing. When it was introduced, this was the concept. We go to people, we listen to them, we submit our reports to the executive that these are the things that were raised, whether it be education, whether it be economic development, whether it be roads, housing, and so forth. So we then send that information to the executive and wait for the executive to tell us exactly what is it that they are going to do. In the absence of that, we would then call the executive to come and account in the House during the question session. That is part of the parliamentary program. And then the members of the executive will then come and respond to some of those things and what they have done. Over and above that, committees themselves have got the capacity and the right to also call a minister to come and account on certain things, because you would understand when people raise the issues in a public meeting and so forth, they are generic. Now it is for us to then sift those things, to say this belongs to housing, this belongs to public works, this belongs to what, and then we bring that to the attention of these ministries. I must say in the fifth Parliament, we have made a lot of strides in terms of taking Parliament to the people. You speak of the Eastern Cape. We were exposed to a school of the deaf, St. George's. Infrastructure was very poor. Teaching was not taking place. It was not in line with the curriculum. The children of the deaf were treated as those who are abled, and therefore the pass rate, it affected the pass rate at the school and so forth. We brought it to the attention of National. We brought it to the attention of the Provincial Department of Education. As we speak now, a lot has happened during our follow-up, because not only do we end there, we also make follow-ups on the undertakings that the executive has made to check whether if really they have done it, not only on paper, but we want to see it physically. And I can tell you now, St. George's School, the curriculum has been changed, new management has been set up, there's a proper adjustment, there's proper infrastructure that has been put in place for the children and so forth, the issues of safety, because there was also a high level of drug abuse in that school, women abuse, where school kids were also abused and so forth. So those are some of the things that we can speak of. Just picking up on the Eastern Cape. In a Free State, for instance, our focus was on health. Certain infrastructure where budget can allow, because some of these things you would find that there's a disjunction insofar as the needs and the budget.
Social media.
And
Okay.
just as citizens,
because
we
we
do
just lost the mic. Now
apologize
we're gonna
for
go
that
back. Going to proceed with
disturbance there. We just lost the sound for a few seconds, but we are back now. Thank you for that. Chairperson, to continue with this conversation, can you just then explain to the citizens what would be the impact of the elections on the work of the NCOP in terms of continuing its job, maybe rising in preparation for the 6th Parliament? What exactly will happen? Because we need to know whether you're going to continue to function or you are going to stop your functions until the 6th Parliament comes in.
Normally we say that months before elections are abnormal months, which impacts on the program of Parliament. But what we had resolved so far is that we will continue doing our work until we have met as two houses, looking at the program, because it is important. I mean, this is a political environment. Members of Parliament are members of political parties. They will be expected to be deployed by their parties, to be sent by their parties to go and do party political work in preparation for the election. So it will have an impact on the program of Parliament, but we are not going to stop doing our work. When necessary, if members are released, when necessary, if they are needed to come and pass certain legislations, then we will have to come back, do that, and go back. But that will be determined by the meeting that we'll have next week of programming to finalize the program and say what are the priorities, what are those pieces of legislation, for instance, that we need to pass. But yes, of course, coming back to taking Parliament to the people, because we have it twice in a year, once in the first quarter and the other one in the last quarter of the year. So for this time around, we want to inform the South African citizens that we are not going to have it in March, because by that time we'll be at the height of elections and so.
That's quite an information that I think is the citizens in Gauteng have been waiting for, to find out whether you are going to come back and give them feedback since you were there.
I must say, there are certain things, of course, that we have put aside, that we have already identified as part of the key priorities that the 6th Parliament will have to look at. Thanks that you mentioned Gauteng. It's one of the provinces that the 6th Parliament will have to, because it's a continuation. It's not that, no, it was a bunch of Tau and therefore it ends there. We are going to come up with new things and so forth. It's a continuation of what has been left. We have compiled, in actual fact, we are compiling and finalizing the legacy report, which will then serve before the 6th Parliament, where now the 6th Parliament will be able to say, okay, in the 5th Parliament, these are the issues. These are the issues that could not be completed or finalized, and then take it from there and move on.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, Deputy Chairperson Tau. And finally now, as a Deputy Chairperson, Mr. Tau, what is your reflection of the 5th Parliament?
Me?
Your personal reflections as the Deputy Chairperson.
I think it was a good period, very exciting, very vibrant. Coming into Parliament first as an ordinary member, to a chairperson of a committee, to a House chairperson, and ultimately a deputy chairperson of the House. For me, I think it has been quite exciting. One has learned a lot. Yes, there are those things that we wish we could have done better. And those are things that obviously we would leave to the 6th Parliament to carry forward. But it was quite exciting. It was quite opening, enlightening, seeing that South Africa has moved now from a particular period or era into another epoch. So for me, yeah, I enjoyed my time.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair, and have a wonderful evening in your joint sitting this evening, and we hope we will see you later in the day. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Deputy Chair. Citizens at home, we have spoken to the Deputy Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and now with me is Mr. Klaso, who is the Secretary of the National Assembly, who's going to give us an overview as to the readiness in terms of the rules and the procedures that are going to be followed in the National Assembly. Good morning, Mr. Xaso.
Good morning, ma'am.
How are you this morning?
I am well, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm okay. Thank you very much. How is your day looking till now?
The day is looking bright. The day is looking quite exciting. The day just looks ready for what is about to happen this evening.
Can you just give the viewers at home, as you are the host in the National Assembly of the joint sitting, in terms of the rules that govern the joint sitting?
Okay, thank you so much. Look, the hosts of this sitting is actually both the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. The National Assembly just happens to be the chamber that is used for the sitting. Otherwise, it's a sitting of the two houses. The Parliament is governed by 3 sets of rules. You have rules of the National Assembly, which are applicable when the National Assembly sits on its own. You then have rules of the National Council of Provinces, which are applicable when the National Council of Provinces sits on its own. You then have joint rules. These are rules that govern a sitting of the two houses when the two houses sit together. So this sitting is called in terms of those rules, the joint rules. It's also called in terms of the Constitution, because remember, the rules are a product of the Constitution. The Constitution empowers Parliament to develop joint rules in particular. And as part of the Constitution, there are sections that empower the President to call a sitting such as this one, a joint sitting it refers to a sitting for special business, which in this instance is the State of the Nation address, which is the annual address that the President delivers in Parliament on an annual basis. So in terms of the readiness for this, we're ready because the rules are in place. And as I said, this sitting is convened in terms of those rules. And these are the rules that will be applicable when we meet later today in session.
Thank you, Mr. Xaso. That is quite a lot of information. But back also into the National Assembly rules. We have actually had a busy year, especially around the rules. One of the rules that you revised or you had to look at, they relate to Section 89 of the Constitution, which speaks to the removal of the President. Can you just give us a synopsis as to what really is happening thus far regarding that Section 89?
Well, the rules were basically giving effect to Section 89 of the Constitution, which deals with the removal of a president, where there are grounds. Of course, there are grounds that are given in the Constitution in terms of which a president may be removed. And therefore, the rules are really meant to practicalize that. So there was a time when the Rules Committee had to meet following a court ruling early last year. The ruling came out at the end of 2017 by the court, Constitutional Court, that Parliament needed to put together a procedure to regulate Section 89 of the Constitution. So the rules are really giving effect to that. They say, among other things, that that process would be triggered by a member tabling a motion in the House, and that motion would be obviously scrutinized, considered by the Speaker. And if the motion complies with the requirements of the rules, then there may be an independent panel that looks at whether there is a basis for an impeachment process. And of course, there is also a committee of Parliament that will also consider those. So those are the various stages, but ultimately it is the House that has to take a decision on removal or otherwise of a president. So whatever process you have, these are House processes. They are developed by the House. In fact, that rule itself had to be approved by the House after the Rules Committee had made recommendations. So these rules are developed by the House, and they are for the House to apply.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klaso. As you are getting ready for the State of the Nation address later this evening and being involved in the 5th Parliament, what are you actually taking with you? Lessons learned from the 5th Parliament, in short.
5th Parliament has been a very exciting time. This is a time when we celebrated the Constitution, 20th anniversary of the Constitution, 20th anniversary of the NCOP. This is a time when we went back, basically, to the very people who crafted this Constitution and held interviews, and we produced a number of theme committee books that dealt with what was considered at the time when the Constitution was dealt with, whether it's about the judiciary, whether it's about local government, about the Bill of Rights, and the Chapter 9 institutions. So I think it's about 6 theme committee books that we have produced. I was privileged, of course, to lead that process. So for me, that was one of the highlights of the 5th Parliament. Of course, various other things. We reviewed the rules of the NA. If I talk in my capacity as the Secretary of the NA, we reviewed the rules of the NA in the 5th Parliament. A very comprehensive set of rules have been produced, which deals with a number of issues that the NA is responsible for. So those were highlights. In a nutshell, there would have been various other things that happened. Of course, with a robust 5th Parliament, much more robust, I guess, in comparison. And been exciting. We learned a lot of lessons, especially as people who have been here even before the 5th Parliament. There's been a lot that we learned in the process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Klaso. Thank you for making time with us to have this interview. Definitely viewers at home have been informed. We know you have a tight schedule already. People are calling on you. So have a blessed day.
Thank you so much.
All right. Viewers at home, we have just finished speaking to our Secretary to the National Assembly, Mr. Klaso. We kind of learning a lot about the rules that have been reviewed and changed this time. So stay tuned to Parliament as we are bringing you more of these interviews and more of what is to happen before the President delivers his State of the Nation address just before we close for the 5th Parliament. Over to you.
The State of the Nation address is an address to the nation by the President of the Republic of South Africa as the head of state. It is commonly referred to as the annual opening of Parliament. The President uses this occasion to set out the government's key policy objectives and deliverables for the year ahead in a wide-ranging address to members of Parliament, which is the basis for executive action during that calendar year.
I now call on the Honorable the President to address the joint sitting.
It is one of the rare occasions where the 3 arms of state, the executive, government, the legislature, parliament, and the judiciary, the courts, gather in one place. The executive is represented by the deputy president and cabinet. The judiciary is represented by the chief justice and judge presidents. The legislature is represented by the presiding officers and members of parliament. Since 1994, the tone of the State of the Nation address has been inclusive, joyful, and informal. The opening of Parliament became an opportunity to showcase the country's cultural diversity and a chance for ordinary citizens, especially children, to become part of the special day.
Dumelang bagaetsho.
Greetings, fellow South Africans. The 2019 State of the Nation Address is scheduled for the 7th February at 7 in the evening. The theme this year is following up on our commitments, making your future work better. This theme underpins Parliament's endeavor to continuously intensify its commitment and service to the people and to ensure a truly united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous South Africa.
The State of the Nation Address is called in terms of Section 42 of the Constitution by the President of the Republic. It is a joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament and one of the rare occasions that brings together the three arms of state under one roof. The address affords the President an opportunity to speak to the nation on the general state of South Africa, to account to the nation on the work of government, and to set out its annual program of action. This State of the Nation Address is the last for this current term of Parliament and will be broadcast on various media platforms. Bagaetsho lo amogetswe.
Namkelekile.
Welcome back to Parliament TV. You're still watching a build-up to the State of the Nation Address, which will be brought to you which will be delivered actually by the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, this evening at 7 p.m. And as we said earlier, the theme for this State of the Nation Address is following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. And I'm not alone. Dino Ngabane Apa in the studio, who's going to bring you our social media update. Ngabane is the team of the social media.
Well, I'm checking the Parliament of RSA feed, and from yesterday we've been tweeting the rehearsals that were underway. So do make sure that you go out and you check that out. So it's the rehearsals from yesterday, and we've also got Professor Nhlanhla Khumisa from the NFP, also the spokesperson of Parliament and the spokesperson of the ANC. Over and beyond, outside that, on the hashtag 2019, we've got a number of people that have been tweeting. We've got Eusebius Mkhize, Fiki Lembalula, Sizwe Mpofu-Walsh, Tumelo Leburu, and a number of the political parties have been tweeting using the hashtag SONA 2019.
Go busy social media and yabona.
Hey, go busy and memes. Memes. Hey, keep.
Yes, I think it's been an exciting term of Parliament. We've seen memes being used more often. What was your favorite memes? One of your favorite memes for this term?
There's this one meme that's.
I guess that one has been used. Yes, I know that one very well. It has been used quite a lot. Yes. And you know, Ayanda, what do you think is the impact of social media on governance?
Well, to really answer that question, one has to understand the history of the impact of technology on governance. And perhaps you can trace that back in the time of letters, where communication was around letters. And in fact, the first post office can be traced back to 555 BC. And then you fast forward to after that to the telegraph. Fast forward to after that, then you have the internet, of which before the internet, though, it was the radio. Now, a number of these inventions impacted society, impacted governance, and corporations. However, before you come in, one thing I have noticed in my research is that governments across the world have been rather slow, unlike corporations, in catching up with technology.
And as you know that in Parliament as well, we are trying to move up with the times, that we've come from a time whereby we used to use those thick books that can be found in the Parliament Library, which were used to record minutes and proceedings of all the House sittings. You can imagine printing of that. I believe that social media has assisted, or electronic media per se has assisted in also not printing so much. We're trying not to print as much and use less paper, of course.
Which assists the environment, of
yes,
course.
Of course, and
yes.
saves a lot of money. It's cost
yes.
as well, cost effective as well. You know, we've got, if you visit the Parliament Library, you'll see those thick documents of committee meetings. You can imagine whereby in Parliament sometimes in a day it's about 30 committee meetings. So if you have to print all those and the sittings, the proceedings and everything. But now we are moving with the times, we're getting there.
I think what's obvious is that change is inevitable.
That's true.
Change is coming,
yes,
and the sooner that governments, institutions change with the times, the better. Because in terms of our accountability, now with social media, by the way, the first social media site can be traced to 1997, so it's relatively new. But with the impact of technology, in terms of accountability, I could literally tweet the chief whip of the majority party. I could tweet Thandi Modise.
Yes, it's immediate. The fact that it's immediate, that you feel like you are talking to the person immediately, and you post it now, they receive it now. So the immediacy element of it is really impressive.
Very impressive. But also with too much of a good thing, there can be bad, as you know. And there's this thing called trolling, where it's actually an abuse. So as much as the accountability and accessibility is there, but a number of people will just harass and abuse. So it's also, you have to use it. Yes, it can also spill into this. So there are positives and negatives with social media.
And hacking as well. We've seen big corporations, their websites being hacked, and which puts them vulnerable and at risk of personal information of people also being leaked. You know, so hacking is also quite a big risk with the social media.
Not just big corporations. I think we've seen here in the 5th Parliament where even some members of Parliament have claimed that their devices and their social media accounts have been hacked. Just within the last week here in Parliament, there was an info alert saying that Thandi Modise, in fact, is not on any social media.
And people create an account using her name, and she's not the only one. We've seen a lot of them that have been happening with politicians, people in high positions where the people use their names, because it's not like there's somebody out there who's going to verify if it's truly you. You can take a picture, you can use my picture, even people, ordinary people, they take your picture and they use it. So it's also quite a risky place as well, you know.
Quite a bit, but you touch on an important part in terms of some of the pitfalls of social media, such as what we've seen more recently: fake news, conspiracies, and rumors, and so how they could be just tweeted now, and because of the immediacy that we spoke about, because of the audience, it's like millions of people on your fingertips, and people can share what we've got as fake news now.
Exactly. You know, people have got access to your information, and also, you know, we've seen a trend of people also, not necessarily a trend, but a practice of people putting their personal information on social media, which puts them at risk as well. You know, people posting their home addresses and stuff like that. So, you know, it's quite risky as well, and the addiction element to it, we know.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easier to get addicted.
And data must fall, Chief. Data is a very big problem.
Yeah, you know, speaking of data, that it's not only data as well, that, let's say, in rural areas, you know, we're talking about accessibility. You know, Parliament is now trying to use social media to try and access as more people as it can. However, as well, with the data being expensive and the network problem, we all know is Lalini. Aqua network. People have to go up the mountain, stand on top of big rocks to get network. So it's also a problem that probably maybe we are not developing as fast as we should in terms of internet access, or, you know, I don't know. You know, that's also some other things that we cannot completely kill traditional communication methods. You can't get rid of them completely. As much as we're trying to eliminate the printing, eliminating, you know, now if you eliminate it completely, there are some, because we also know that our grandparents don't know how to use these devices. They're not on social media. So if you're saying you're not going to print a newspaper, it means she's not going to get information.
Indeed, Maseko. I mean, you are touching on a very critical point, because you say Omakulu, and perhaps other people, even in here, in an urban, in the second largest city in South Africa, in Cape Town, there are still a number of people who prefer to buy a newspaper, who prefer to communicate in old-fashioned ways. So the traditional forms of media aren't totally outdated.
No,
you
they
know?
aren't.
So they still are relevant. They still have space, as much as a number of people will probably disagree with me. But if anyone wants to continue interacting with us, what do you think that the impact of technology and specifically social media has been on governance broadly and perhaps on the 5th Parliament specifically on any one of our social media platforms by using the hashtag SONA 2018 and hashtag
2019, you're still in 2018.
Yay!
Hashtag 2019.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hashtag SONA 2019. And if you want to interact directly with Parliament TV, hashtag Parly Live. Hashtag Parly Live. So do make sure that you stay tuned to Parliament TV.
The State of the Nation address is convened when the President writes to the Speaker asking for him to come and address the nation on a certain day. This letter will obviously, for administration purposes, be sent to the Secretary, to the National Assembly to start with the preparations. The call is for a joint sitting of the National Assembly and the National Council of Provinces. Members of both houses get together for their address by the President. The responsibility of both tables is shared on the day. We do the normal thing that we do when there is an ordinary sitting of the House. But on this particular occasion, because it is the State of the Nation address, the work is shared between the National Assembly table staff members and the NCOP table staff members. There will be a procedural guide that is prepared by either the NCOP or the NA table staff. We prepare a skeleton of the minutes. What we also do is we check that the order of proceedings is correct. The order of proceedings that is prepared by our protocol office, we check that the times and the words that are used in this document really are saying the kinds of things that will happen on the day. The most important document of the day is actually the order paper. In ordinary parlance, it can be called the agenda of the day. We make sure that, first of all, there is an order paper and that the order paper is loaded on the system that we have in the chamber, so that when members of parliament come, they will see that, in fact, what we have loaded and what appears on the order paper is the address by the President of the nation. once the President has given the State of the Nation address, members of the National Assembly are given a chance to respond to that State of the Nation address, and thereafter the President comes back to reply to what the issues members have brought up. This is what we call the maze of the people. It is made up of 3 parts. It looks like it's one long part, but actually there are 3 parts to the maze. There is the drum, and then there is this middle part that is made up of wood, and then there is the last part down there that is made up of a number of gemstones, precious stones of South Africa, and platinum right at the end. On the drum, you see we have a replica of the Constitution. It has got all the 11 official languages on top, and the drum, on the face of the drum, you have South African people at work. You have miners, you have a mother with a baby on her back, you have a tractor driver, you have computer person over there. A public participation process was engaged by Parliament to get everyone to be involved in the making of the new maze. Now, this is what we came out with, and in 2012, the maze was brought into the chamber for the first time in September. The maze. Here is your drum, as I said, here is your Constitution, and here are South Africans at work. This is like a symbol of the Ndebele traditional necklace that Ndebele women wear. These are a representation of South African precious stones. This is a representation of our forests and woodlands. As you see, we also have the flag at the bottom made of precious beads. Now, the maze is a symbol of the authority of the Speaker. South Africans will know that when we have a gathering, in Africa, when we have a gathering, a drum is rolled. Somebody will beat the drum to call the people together. So that is why we have this drum here on the top of the maze. It is meant to call the people together. And secondly, it is a symbol to show that the South African democracy was won through dialogue. You call people together to come and talk about their democracy. That is why we have the maze as it looks like this. It is, as I say, a symbol of the authority of the Speaker. The Sergeant at Arms conducts the Speaker or any other presiding officer into the chamber with the mace on her shoulder to end, announces the Speaker, and then the mace is put at the front there, in front of the Speaker. But during a State of the Nation address with a joint sitting, the mace together with the black rod are housed at the front of the house. The sergeant and the usher of the black rod sit at the front of the house. Normally, the sergeant at arms during sittings of the National Assembly would be sitting to the back of the house, right at the back of the house, just as you enter the door on your right.
That was Mme Regina Muhlomi, who is the Sergeant at Arms in the National Assembly. I've got her here in studio, and she's going to tell us more about what it entails to be a Sergeant at Arms. Mme Muhlomi, welcome to studio. Can you please just tell us just a broad overview of what your job entails as the Sergeant at Arms?
The traditional responsibilities of any Sergeant at Arms in any parliament is to help the presiding officer, usually the Speaker, to maintain order in the chamber. As you know, the Sergeant-at-Arms is supposed to be helping the Speaker when members are not following the rules and they are ordered to leave the House. The Sergeant-at-Arms is the person who goes to the member and actually makes sure that the Speaker's decision is carried out.
Okay, you are the first female Sergeant-at-Arms. How did it feel when you started in the job? And also, how is it like working in such a male-dominated field?
When I first started, you know, it wasn't an issue about being the first. We did not specifically go out and look for a first female Sergeant-at-Arms as such. It happened because I was the person who was responsible for the unit that was responsible for the Sergeant-at-Arms job.
Okay.
So, but then as time went on, you know, and people started talking about it, especially in the media, I must say, people started talking about first female Sergeant-at-Arms. It is true that Sergeants-at-Arms these days, even today, are in the majority men. And, you know, I think of 2 or 3 in the world, female Sergeants-at-Arms, excluding myself. You know, so it seems like it is an issue. It has become an issue. But what is good for me is that, you know, when young girls and young women hear about this, they hear that here is a woman who is doing what is traditionally a male job. And I hope that they go, yay. And they say, you know, I want to be like her. Not necessarily to be a Sergeant-at-Arms, but to be something where men train drivers, you know, those kinds of things.
And what made you interested in this job?
I came to Parliament to work for the Human Resources, it's called Division today. But then as time went on, human resources became something that I know and I know thoroughly. You know, so I thought that, okay, you know, it's time to move on. And fortunately, I was a lot younger then. The hair was not as gray as it is today. So it was possible for me to be moved to the National Assembly. And there is where the actual work of Parliament is done. And that is where I sort of had to grapple with all of these things. I'm not a lawyer. You don't have to be a lawyer to be a Sergeant-at-Arms or a procedural officer in the National Assembly table. You know, so fortunately there was a space for me to grow in the job, and that is how I came up the ranks in the NA table.
Okay, actually, you just touched on what I wanted to ask you as a follow-up question, that what are the skills that are needed to do this type of a job?
My job, you see, the Sergeant-at-Arms in the South African National Assembly is a bit non-traditional, because traditionally you would have the Sergeant-at-Arms looking after the protocol, the ceremonials, and perhaps looking after the security aspect of the work. Here in Parliament, security is separated from the Sergeant-at-Arms area of work. Instead, here, the Sergeant-at-Arms is also responsible for business aspects of the work. I do the HR for the division. I do the finances. I control the money.
Okay, well, the money lady.
That's what my colleague called me, actually, money lady. So it's a bit non-traditional, you know. So you do not actually need, I say, to be a lawyer. You must have a degree, obviously. You must be good in languages. You must know how to analyze. You obviously have to know how to read.
That's, of course, that's true. And we're coming to the end of the 5th term of Parliament. What are some of your highlights for this term of Parliament?
It came and it went. The highlights were we learned a great deal. Me and my colleagues, we learned a great deal. We moved away from a National Assembly sitting that was just something that we knew, that we actually didn't have to think about, to becoming very businesslike about preparing for sittings of the National Assembly.
They kept you on your toes.
We were kept on our toes. We were given an opportunity to actually hone our skills, in the sense that we had to look at our rules. We had to go back and redraft the rules. We had to go back and see what the law allows and what the law doesn't allow. We had to go back and look at what the decisions of the courts have been. Those are the kinds of things that we never had an opportunity in the peace times to do.
It was a busy term, I guess.
It was. It was indeed.
Just on a lighter note, did you actually think when you're applying for the job that, yes, you are responsible for taking out members when they're not behaving, but that it will actually happen that you'd be called to come to the floor and have to really remove a member of parliament. You know when you're applying for a job, they say this is part of your job, but did you ever think it will come to life?
No. During those times, there was not even an inkling of anything at all. Having the Sergeant at Arms does get to go onto the floor of the House. My predecessor did it maybe 3 or 4 times in a period of 20 years, once or twice. And it was not as intense as it has become. I never thought. It wasn't something on my mind. I must say, though, it was not something that I took lightly, that I was only excited about. I felt a great deal of responsibility, and at the beginning, it was very frightening, actually.
Oh, man.
These days, I worry about falling and tumbling down with the mace all over the show.
Have you ever fallen?
No, I haven't, thankfully.
Okay, you've come that far. Also, just when, let's say, the speaker, the presiding officer says, Sergeant at Arms, can you remove the member from the chamber? What goes on in your head? Are you...
As I walk, because I sit at the back of the chamber, on the floor of the House, quite a bit of a distance from most members. So when the speaker calls upon me, as I walk towards the member whom I am supposed to remove, I keep on asking, oh, please go. Oh, just go. Just go now before I get to you.
Before I get to you. Okay, now we're preparing for the 6th Parliament. So what are the recommendations or things that you'd like to see change as we start the 6th Parliament?
The biggest change I would like personally to see is that South Africans actually do come to Parliament. It's amazing to ask people outside of here where Parliament is, and somebody says, I don't know. We have a lot of visitors here. We have a lot of tourists coming to visit our Parliament, but the seats are empty. Even on big days when we are discussing the budget, when Parliament is adopting the budget, you don't see House full. You see House full on State of the Nation address. You see House full on budget day when the Minister of Finance is here. But when the nitty-gritty of the budget is discussed, when the budget is about to be adopted, you don't see South Africans there. I just wish that the parliamentary service would have a program that actually gets South Africans to come and listen, not only in committees, but also in the chamber where decisions are adopted.
Okay, now the State of the Nation address is happening today. Obviously, you've prepared a lot. So what are some of the preparations that you do as a build-up to the State of the Nation address?
My colleagues and I have what we call a procedural officers meeting. We talk about what happened before, we talk about what we expect, we talk about in very, very lengthy terms about what the rules are. These days we have a list of scenarios that we put down and discuss. We did that 2 days ago, all of the NA table and NCOP table stuff, because it's a joint sitting.
Okay, thank you very much, Mkhlomi, for your time. I'm sure you're going to have a busy day, and I wish you all the best. But don't fall. You're not going to fall. Don't worry about that. You've done a great job so far. Thank you very much for your time. She never imagined that she would be in the career she's in, and we cannot imagine the National Assembly without her. Thank you, Ms. Mkhlomi, for your time. Now we're going to go over to some Vox Pops where you get to hear what people are saying on the streets.
On 7th February 2019, the who's who of the political and business arena, civil society and diplomatic corps will bustle in the parliamentary corridors as President Cyril Ramaphosa will deliver the last State of the Nation address of the 5th Parliament. The Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces and the Speaker of the National Assembly called a joint sitting for the President to deliver the 2019 State of the Nation address. The red carpet is ready, cameras are in position, and the designers are hard at work to showcase their talent at this prestigious event in the political calendar.
Mokgaitsho pele diwa ya lwelwa le patata le lela boatleng kwa maruding a palamente se fetwe. Watch live on Parliament TV or via Parliament's live stream on YouTube from 7 o'clock in the morning until 9:30 in the evening. You can also join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag SONA2019. For updates, visit parliament.gov.za. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better.
Greetings, fellow South Africans. The 2019 State of the Nation Address is scheduled for the 7th February at 7 in the evening. The theme this year is following up on our commitments, making your future work better. This theme underpins Parliament's endeavor to continuously intensify its commitment and service to the people and to ensure a truly united, non-racial, non-sexist, equal and prosperous South Africa.
The State of the Nation Address is called in terms of Section 42 of the Constitution by the President of the Republic. It is a joint sitting of the two houses of Parliament and one of the rare occasions that brings together the three arms of state under one roof. The address affords the President an opportunity to speak to the nation on the general state of South Africa, to account to the nation on the work of government, and to set out its annual program of action. This State of the Nation Address is the last for this current term of Parliament and will be broadcast on various media platforms.
Namkelekile.
Siyabonga babukeli emakhaya, siyabonga ukuthi senibe nathi kusukela ekseni kuze kube lesi sikhathi. Sesikhulume nabantu abaningi okuyibona abaphethe la eParliament. Manje ke ngimi nosihlalo lapha ya kwi-National Assembly ubaba uTsinoli. Good afternoon, sir.
Usekela somlomo.
Siyabonga Sekela Lomlomo. How are you this morning?
Sikhona kunjani sisi?
No, ngikhona nami. Deputy Speaker, we are now in front of the National Assembly where the joint sitting is going to happen. Awusichazele kabanzi ngemthetho ezobe yenzeka la kule nhlanganiso ezobe ikhona phakathi kwe-National Assembly kanye ne-NCOP.
Njengokujwayelekile siceliwe umongameli ukuthi azokhuluma nezwe nabo bonke abanye abantu kwezinye indawo emhlabeni abafisa ukwazi ukuthi njengoba isikhathi sethu kusukela ngo-2014 sesiphela ikuphi esesikwenzile nokuthi sibhekene neziphi inselelo sizenzani ngazo nokuthi njengoba sivala kanje sizovala ikuphi esilindele ukuthi abantu bona benzeni. Ilokho esikulindele namhlanje ukuthi kuzothola umkhombandlela wenkulumo kubo bonke abantu nakuthina njengabantu abamele umphakathi abathunywe ukuzomela umphakathi ukuthi sihlangene iziphi inkinga esifisa ukuthi sixazululeke ngokusheshsha kakhulukazi ngoba kukhona osokuzwakele kwabonakala obekuvele kuvesa ngabantu ukuthi kunabantu abakhwabanisa izimali abadla izimali zomphakathi ngoba imali zomphakathi azikona izimali zikahulumeni ukuthi benzwa njani uma sekutholakele ukuthi bakwenzile lokho ngoba kenye ngathi kuye kwenzeke ukuthi abantu kushiwe bayenze lezo zinto kanti empeleni into okungafanele ukuthi sivume ubufakazi bungekho sifisa ukuthi konke okushiwoyo kube khona ukufakazi ukuthatha izinyathelo abantu basuse la kufanele ukuthi basuswe khona ukuze kungena abantu abane izindlela zokusebenza eziclean
Somlomo Sekela Somlomo siyabonga ususichazele kabanzi ngokuthi njengoba sizobe sesigoqa iParliamente lesihlanu lapha eNational Assembly ziningi izinto esenizibonile ukuthi engathi azihambanga kahle engathi nhle ngikukhumbuze inqumo eziyezathathwa inkantolo mayelana nezinye zezinto bekufanele ngabe bezilindeleke ngabe zenziwe la kwishamthetho sikazwelonke ungake nje usithi qabaqaba mayelana nesahluko sesahluko 89 seconstitution lesi esikhuluma ngokususwa sikamongameli ukuthi nina njenge National Assembly senikuphi mayelana nalesimo in terms ukuthi kubuyekezwa kwemthetho
hayi khona sesikwenzile sesiqedile ukuze inkambiso ngaphakathi kwiParliament ekufanele ukuthi ilandele umthetho sisekelo sesiqedile leyo ebekufanele ukuthi siyenze ebivela nasenkantolo ezinkulu sesiqedile ikhona indlela esizoyilandela uma kutholakala ukuthi mhlambe kufanele ukuthi kususwe umongameli kusuka kumongameli phezulu ukuya kuzo zonke ezinye indawo leyo mtheshwana ebekuthiwe siyilungisile njengoba sishilo kwinkantolo yona qobolwayo ukuthi thina siyamukele lokho okushiwa inkantolo ngaphandle uma sihlukana nayo inkantolo ngombono esicabanga ukuthi uma ngase uye phezulu singatholakala singwelinye side ngaleyo ndlela sithi thina sesifezile leyo ndlela ebekuthiwe siyilandele yokulungisa imthesho yokuhambisa ngaphakathi nokuthi uma ingekho ngoba ebivele ikhona kumthetho siseko into ebikufanele ukuthi iyenzeke ukuthi sivumelane ngaphakathi kwendlu ukuthi uma sikufanele ukuthi siyenze izolandeleka ngayiphi indlela sesikwenzile lokho njengoba kwenzeke ngenxa yokutholakala ukuthi mhlambe umongameli uma ingekho leyo ndlela ngaphakathi elandelwayo esemthethweni singasuke senze iphutha siyasho ukuthi hayi cha sisebenzile sayilandelisa sakhulumisana sonke akekho ophikisana naleyo ndlela esivumelana ngayo esemthethweni manje.
Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. Now, with all that happened during the Fifth Parliament in the National Assembly, can you just take us on some of the challenges that the National Assembly faced as well as the successes just before we close on the Fifth Parliament after the State of the Nation address?
Ake ngiqale la. Enye inselelo enkulu kakhulu besibhekene nayo ukuthi uma sibheka besithunyiwe iParliament lesine ukuthi sibhekisise sithola indlela yokubhekisisa lemthetho esiyenzile kusukela ngo1994 ukuze kucace kuthina nakubantu uma sireport ukuthi yini leyenza ukuthi lemthetho nemtheshwana esiyenzile ingasebenzi ingafezi injongo esasinayo ngesikhathi siyenza manje lokho sikwenzile sike saqala abantu onolwazi nochwepheshe endleleni ehlukene ukubuyekeza imithetho le kusukela ngo1994 bakhetha ke bona imithetho e100 ukuze bayicwaninge bayibhekisise basho ukuthina ukuthi babona kanjani manje njengoba sivala iParliament le sesitholile umbiko wabo basinikeze wona sikwazile ukuthi sihlukanise sinikeze ikomiti nekomiti lezo siphakamiso esivele kulelo cwaningo ukuze bayibhekisise ukuthi ihamba kanjani ihambisana kanjani nalokho esifisa ukuthi sikwenze ihambisana nalokho esifisa ukuthi kwenzeke na ukuze ukuthi uma sivumelana neziphakamiso zalabo bantu bese sibacelile ukuthi basenzele lo msebenzi sisho sithi siyavumelana manje lo umsebenzi wenziwa la eParliament iNational Assembly neNational Council of Provinces kuhlangene nama legislature la kushaya khona umthetho emaprovinsini nabo bayenza umsebenzi ofana naloyo umsebenzi omkhulu kabi loyo ngoba sifuna ukuqiniseka ukuthi njengoba siqhubeka nokwenza imithetho sifunde kule mithetho ebesisiyenzile singayenzi amaphutha esiwenzile nokuthi mhlambe kukhona ezinye izinto kufanele ukuthi sizenze ngaphandle kwemithetho kuphela nokwazisa abantu ukubafundisa ngokuthi lo mthetho esesivumelene nawo emva kokukhulumisana nani ukuze wenzeke kahle kudingeka ukuthi kwenzekeni senzeni thina umphakathi thina njengamalunga eParliamente ithunya zabo abantu ukuze ukuqiniseke ukuthi lezi zinto ziyenzeka njengoba sasihlosile ngoba kwenye inkhathi kwenza imithetho kodwa ingayenzike ngendlela ebesifise ngayo manje lawo maphutha ke esiwatholile sizobe sisebenzela phezulu kwayo angiqhubeke ngithi ngaphandle kwalokho le inkantolo esithatha inqubo endleleni ehlukene ngaphakathi kweParliament sisizile nathi ukuze zicacise ukuthi ubani unamandla okwenzani ngoba lokho kwakukhona ukushayisana nazo inkantolo qobolwayo kodwa inkantolo enkulu esishamthetho iyona ecacisile ukuthi cha lokho wena umsebenzi nini eParliament ninamandla ukuhambisa umsebenzi yenu ngendlela elandelayo njengoba umthetho siseko uvuma ikucacisile sijabulile ukuthi lokho kwenzeke kodwa enye into emqoka ekufanele ukuthi sithi sifundile ukuthi ukhona la kuphulwe khona umthetho ubuholi bethu jikelele izinkantolo zicacisile lokho la inkantolo zifinyelele ukuthi hayi cha la kwenzeka iphutha umongameli ukwenza isibonakaliso wenza iphutha lapha lezi zinto kufanele zilungiswe nguye ezinye iParliament efanele ifake izinto emthethweni for example uyenze isibonakaliso ngalo umthetho ukuthi uma sifanele ukuthi mhlambe sicele umongameli ashiye emsebenzini senze kanjani ezinye imphumela yokucwaninga imithetho nalokho esikutholile ukuze ngesikhathi esilandelayo singayenza amaphutha afanayo ukuze ukuthi nokulandela lokho esikuthunyile ngabantu ukuthi insebenziso yezimali nokuthi abantu basizeka kanjani kuhambe ngendlela eyiyona sifundile kuloko kube khona amakomiti la eParliament abuze imibuzo eshisayo ukucacisa ukuthi cha uma niyenza iphutha la kuzofanele ukuthi nani nithole izijeziso okuyinto emqoka kakhulu ukuthi kungabonakala ukuthi kunabantu abayenza amaphutha abawonayo kungabi khona isijeziso so sikufundile lokho sikwazile ukuthi njengoba kune commission le ephenyayo okwenzekile sivumelene nayo ukuthi sizobanikeza lokho ebese sikwenzile thina la eParliament ukuze ukuthi imphumela ilandele nalokho ebesivela sikwenzile kube khona okukhulu ebekungathandeki kwabanye abantu kulowo msebenzi ukuthi iParliament iphenye lezi zinto ngokuphelele ngoba babebona mhlambe ngathi manje kuqondwane nabo kanti siqondene thina nokulungisa umsebenzi weParliament ngendlela ekufanele ukuthi isebenze ngayo ingakho sifisa ukuthi uma siqhubeka nalabo abazosilandela la eParliament baqonde ukuthi le ndlela yokusebenza leyo esifundile yokuthi sibuze imibuzo noma ngabe eshisa kangakanani singanaki ukuthi ubani ozozwa kungemnandi thina sisebenzele umphakathi jikelele nesithunyo esinikezwe zona ukuthi sisebenze kahle siyajabula ngoba lokho kusifundisile nokuthi sisebenzele lokho besithe thina sizokwenza
siyabonga Deputy Speaker and umbuzo wami olandelayo kuloko sokubekile ukhulume ngokuthi the Parliament has reviewed a number of legislations and you said around about 100 which the responsibility fell on the high-level panel. And they've made recommendations as to what Parliament needs to attend to in order to resolve the issues of the legislation being passed but not being implemented properly. Where do you attribute the failure of the implementation of rules and also who is not doing their oversight?
Yikho lokho okuhlanziwa ebekucwaningwa ilabantu besisibacelile ukuthi babheke ukuthi ikuphi la kwenzeke khona ukuthi lezi zinto zingenzeki njengoba sasihlosile iziphakamiso zabo ziqonde ukulungisa lokho asikakaqedi umsebenzi wokuhlaziya lo msebenzi abasiripotele wona ngoba kufanele ukuthi sizwe ukuthi bathini ngasiphi isizathu sibuye sibheke thina ngokwethu ukuthi siyavumelana nabo noma cha ngoba kwenye inkathi kungenzeka ukuthi kwenziwe iphakamiso kodwa mase sibhekwa ukwenza isibonakalisa kukhona imithetho ababethe sime singaqhubeki nokuyenza manje inkinga bekuwukuthi bese siqalile ukuwenza lo msebenzi asikwazi ukuthi sivume iphakamiso enjalo ingakazi ihlaziwe ikomiti leparlament okuyiyona kufanele ukuthi ihlaziye lezi zinto efana nalezo lokho esibacele bukhona babenga understand ukuthi ukuthi kuthathwe lesi sinqumo kufanele ukuthi khona okwenzekile ngaphakathi eparlament hayi ngaphandle ngabantu ngaphandle ingakazi ukuthi kube khona i-debate i-debate okuyiyona kuzongena ama-political parties wonke ngaphakathi namakomiti okufanele ukuthi ayenze lo msebenzi lokho impendulo yalokho ngibuza khona izovela uma lo msebenzi usoqediwe ngaphakathi kweparlament ngoba ukucela abantu ukuphenya izinto ngaphandle kweparlament ukulekelela umsebenzi weparlament mase sithole leso silekelelo sifanele sibheke ke inqumo ke bese siyakuphendula ke ukwamanje sikwazi ukuphendula kodwa singasho sicabange nje ukuthi ukulandela umthetho siseko into okufanele ukuthi siyenze njalo sibheke ukuthi khona yini esikuthunywe umthetho siseko okungenzeki sizathu sini esenza ukuthi lokho kungenzeki silalele nabantu uma bekhuluma ukuze sikusebenzise lokho akushiwa ngabantu ukuhlaziya lemithetho ngendlela emenga khona njengokuthi abantu besimame kakhulukazi nezingane udlame elisetshenziswayo liyasiqaka ngoba kunemithetho ekhona vele manje yini leyenza ukuthi lezi zinto siqhubeke kanti kunemithetho kufanele ukuthi iyakuvimba lokho yikuphi la mhlambe kungahambi kahle kuleyo mthetho yona ngokwayo noma kumaphoyisa ukufanele ukuthi balandele lezo zinto noma kumphakathi wona ngokwayo ngoba kwenye inkhathi lezi zinto ziyenzeka ngaphakathi endlini zethu ikuphi esingakwenzi thina njengomphakathi ukuqiniseka ukuthi njengoba le mithetho ikhona siyayilandela siyakwazi ukubatshela abanye abantu ukuthi akufanele ukuthi bakwenze lokho manje lokho sifanele siqiniseke ukuthi kukhona esikushoyo esikuphakamisayo ukuze kulandeleke ukuqiniseka lemithetho iyenzeka njengoba sihlosile leyo mthetho yokuvimba ukusebenzisa udlame ekuxazululeni inkinga ezikhona kakhulukazi mesikhuluma ngokuhlobo obukhona phakathi kwabantu besimame nabantu besilisa sikhulume nabantu besilisa uzokhumbula ukuthi sibe neparlament sisebenza nedepartment ye-social development yabantu besilisa ukuzohlaziya ukuthi kanti ikuphi lokho ukwenza ukuthi kube khona udlame olungaka sesiqalile ngamanye amagama ukuzama ukubheka ngendlela ezihlukene abantu besilisa abaqhamuka kuwo wonke ama-provinces sihlaziye isimo ukuthi ikuphi esingakwenza ukuvimba ukuthi lolu dlame luyaqhubeka manje sifisa ukuthi thina lezo zinto efana nalezo ziqhubeke ziyenzeke umphakathi ungakhathali ukuveza iziphakamiso ezolandelwa ukuze ukuthi siqiniseke umsebenzi walemithetho esishayayo
siyabonga so Deputy Speaker umbuzo wami ke ongalandela kuloko osukushilo we observe that women have not really attained their positions in terms of political participation, especially in higher positions. And we heard also the speaker speaking earlier to us that there's a need across Africa and the world that women also need to be promoted in order to advance their aspirations in the top positions. What is your comment on this issue of promoting and advancing women, especially in parliaments around Africa?
Sengishilo ukuthi enye inhloso yokuthi kube khona iparlament yabantu besilisa bekuzobheka zonke izinto eziphathene nobuhlobo okufanele ukuthi bube khona phakathi kwethu nabantu besifazana. Ngoba indlela esikhuliswe ngayo thina abantu besilisa nabantu besifazana ilapho inxaki ingxenye yayo ikhona ukuthi uma singaba nendlela yokuyibona leyo nto kungaba khona ukushesha okufikelelayo kubo bonke abantu abaningi ngoba ngaphandle kokuthi silande la iqala khona azizoba nempumelelo ukuxazulula lenkinga le kunezindlela zokusebenza zomnotho kakhulukazi la abantu bafuna ukwenza izimali baye basebenzise ukuhlukana okukhona ngaphakathi emphakathini okuhambisana nendlela zabo zokuzama ukuthola izimali eziningi njengokuthi ukungakhokhelwa abantu besimame imali efanayo nabantu besilisa bebenza umsebenzi ofanayo ingxenye enkulu yale ngxaki esikhuluma nayo manje ukuze sibe nayo ukubona okufanayo kufanele siyixoxe lento ivele ibonakala ukuthi iyona enza ukuthi kube khona ukungavumi ukunikeza abantu besifazana nabo ukuthi babe nendlela yokusebenza ngendlela elandelayo izwe lethu leyamanye amazwe kuhlangene izizwe ezibonakalisayo ukuthi siyalapho ngoba abantu abaningi abaholayo eParliament leParliament lethu siholwa ngabantu besifazana sisebenza namaParliament la kukhona ubuholi obufanayo nalopho okubonisayo ukuthi kukhona ukuzwisisa okwandayo nokuthi uma singase siqinise lapho ukuthi abantu besilisa nabantu besimame babe nokubona okucishe kufane enkulisweni kwezingane sizokwazi ukuthi sibe nenxazululo.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. My final question would be, what are your expectations since the President will be delivering the last State of the Nation address in the 5th Parliament?
Okokuqala nje abantu abaningi into abayilindele bafuna ukuzwa ukuthi le ngxaki yemisebenzi ezoyixazulula kanjani. Mina ilokho engikwaziyo ukuthi nokuthi njengokukhona izinto ezivelayo ezimqoka eziletha ingoquko endleleni izinto ziyenzeka ngakhona kuzothinta imisebenzi kanjani nokuthi ke isimo sokuphatheka kwabantu endleleni esihlukene ngaphakathi kwezwe ukuze siqede lokungalingalingani kuzolandelwa iziphi izindlela ngoba sishilo ekuqaleni ukuthi imisebenzi ukuntuleka kwemisebenzi ubumpofu okukhona endaweni eziningi ngaphandle kwezwe akwamukeleki manje silinde thina ukuzwa umongameli ekhomba indlela esho ukuthi nakho sizokulandela nakho esikuxoxayo nabanye ukuxazulula lezi inkinga lezi eziyezivimbe umsebenzi okufanele ukuthi siwenze siyafisa ukuthi uzokubeka kucace ukuthi njengoba sesibe nethuba kuleminyaka emihlanu nakho sikwenzile uzozama ukulandelisa lokho esesikwenzile afisayo ukuthi izwe lonke likwazi.
Deputy Speaker, asibonge kakhulu ngesikhathi usiphe sona. Asibonge kakhulu nokuthi usinikeze nje umphako wokuthi kahlehle yini ngempela esiyenzekile kuleli parliament kule minyaka emihlanu esobe siyivala before sihambe siye kuma elections. Just before Deputy Speaker ahambe, we kindly requested the Deputy Speaker to take a selfie over there. We are in the 4th industrial revolution, so technology is in favor of us. So over to you. Viewers at home, the Deputy Speaker is reluctant to take a selfie, but he's going to give us a moment of his time just to oblige with us.
What is this supposed to mean?
You can also join the conversation on social media by using the hashtag SONA2019. For updates, visit parliament.gov.za. Parliament, following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. Parliament is hosting the State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa on Thursday, 7 February 2019 at 7 p.m. Due to the ceremony of state, Cape Town motorists and pedestrians are advised of temporary road closures and parking restrictions in and around Parliament on 7 February 2019. There will be parking restrictions in the following areas: Clipper Road between Main Road and M3, M3 between Princess Anne Avenue and Philip Khosana Drive, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands, Church Square, corner of Spin and Parliament Streets, Ruland Street between Plain and Brandweer Streets, Plain Street between Ruland and Long Market Streets, Spin Street between Parliament and Plain Streets, Parliament Street between Long Market and Bureau Streets, Hatfield and St. John's Streets between Ruland and Orange Streets, Adderley Street between Whale and Strand Streets, St. Mary's Cathedral parking area between Bouquet and Ruland Streets, Gallery Lane, Queen Victoria Street, Commercial Street between Badenkant and Plain Streets, Barak Street between Badenkant and Plain Streets, Alberta Street between Badenkant and Corporation Streets, Culloden Street between Badenkant and Corporation Streets, Mostert Street between Badenkant and Plain Streets, Long Market Street between Badenkant Street and St. George's Mall, Whale Street up to Queen Victoria Street, Hope Street from Ruland to Wesley Streets, Harrington Street between Ruland and Darling Streets, Parade Street between Darling and Barak Streets, Darling Street between Parade and Canterbury Streets, Glen and Wesley Streets between Hope and Badenkant Streets, Badenkant Street between Darling and Wesley Streets, Avenue Street and Paddock Street, Church Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street, Long Market Street from St. George's Mall to Adderley Street. The following roads will close between 6 a.m. and 11:45 p.m. Church Square, Ruland Street between Plain and Badenkant Streets, closure of Company Gardens, Government Avenue from Orange Street to Whale Street, Plain Street from Long Market Street to Ruland Street, St. John Street from Ruland Street to Frede Street, Gallery Lane, Bouquet Street, Hope Street between Ruland and Glen Streets, Wesley Street between Badenkant and Hope Streets, Glen Streets between Badenkant and Hope Streets, Whale Street between Queen Victoria and Adderley Streets, Bureau Street between Adderley and Parliament Streets, Spin and Mostert Streets between Corporation and Parliament Streets, Parliament Street from the gates of Parliament to Long Market Street, Commercial Street between Plain and Badenkant Streets where it becomes bi-directional, Wesley and Glen Streets between Hope and Badenkant Streets where it becomes bi-directional. And there will be road closures on the following roads from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Badenkant Street between Darling and Strand Streets, Darling Street between Badenkant and Canterbury Streets, Harrington Street between Darling and Ruland Streets, and the following roads will be closed between 5:45 p.m. to 7 p.m. Clipper Road in Newlands from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, Princess Anne Avenue in Newlands from Newlands Avenue to Union Avenue, Newlands Avenue in Newlands from Dean Street to Princess Anne Avenue, Dean Street in Newlands westbound from Main Road M4 to Newlands Avenue, M3 Union Avenue, Rose Drive, Philip Khosana Drive, Ruland Street, city-bound carriageway from Newlands Avenue to City Centre, Woolsack Drive in Rondebosch westbound between Main Road M4 and Rhodes Drive M3, Anzio Road in Observatory from Main Road M4 to Philip Khosana Drive. N2 Settlers Way city-bound carriageway from Main Road M4 to City Centre. And the following roads will be closed between 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Ruland Street between Buitenkant and Brandweer Streets. Parliament apologizes for any inconveniences caused.
Viewers at home, we are back on interviewing the presiding officers as well as the officials, both from the National Assembly as well as the National Council of Provinces. So far, we have heard about the legislations that have been passed in Parliament and also heard about the challenges and also recommendations as Parliament will be closing the 5th Parliament and moving to the 6th Parliament. Indeed, today is the State of the Nation address by the President of South Africa, which is going to be done later this evening. With me now is the House Chairperson of Committees and Oversight and Intergovernmental Relations in the National Council of Provinces. I'm with Mr. Archibald Nyambi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, and morning to the viewers at home.
Sir, thank you for making the time this morning. Can you just give us an overview what your job is all about in the National Council of Provinces as a chairperson that overlooks the committees, the work of the committees, oversight as well as intergovernmental relations?
Mainly as I'm in charge of committees, oversight and intergovernmental relations. My job every day is to make sure that all the committees, whenever they're going to have their programs, they do a submission in my office. I have to look at them and make sure that they are in line with the plans of the National Council of Provinces. And then if they are not in line, I make them to align them with the plans of the NCOP and then make approval, assist committees. And if we have to do oversight, whether it's an issue of an intervention in a province or you have to have a committee calling a department coming to the NCOP to do a presentation, I must make sure that we do the approval as the office. And the issue of the IGR, you'll understand that the NCOP is the only house in South Africa, in Parliament, that you happen to have local government coming in, being represented in that house. So we make sure that we do that proper coordination in that house. And our responsibility is to look at what committees are doing, and at all times when looking at the flagship of the NCOP, how do we make sure that we incorporate the work of other spheres of government, as well the only house that can make them to have a voice in the national parliament.
Mr. Nyambi, thank you for pointing out the IGR. For the benefit of the viewers at home, what is the meaning of IGR?
You'll understand that in our country, the drafters of the constitution have made it a point that they reflect about this issue of IGR, which we call it intergovernmental relations. We have the three spheres of government. We've got the national, we've got the provincial, we've got the local one. Then to have all of them in one roof and making sure that we do a proper coordination, because when the voters expect us to assist in terms of making sure that we do oversight in terms of service delivery, they don't care whether we are provincial, whether we are national, whether we are local. If they want assistance, they want assistance. So our role is to make it a point that at all times, all the spheres of government are working in a way that is not a competition, but assisting each other so that there is proper coordination and effectiveness and assisting our people, so that at all times when they say they've got a problem, for an example with water, or they've got a problem with a road, you can't go to them and say, no, it's national, or no, it's a provincial, or no, it's a local road. To them, they don't give a damn as long as they get what they want in terms of service delivery. So it's our role as members of the National Council of Provinces, especially in my responsibility as the House Chairperson in charge of that function, to make sure that all committees at all times, they incorporate what is happening in all the spheres of government. And when members of a provincial legislature are coming to make a presentation in the National Council of Provinces, they are understanding what is our plan, and at all times at the beginning of the year, we start by making them to understand what is our program and what we are expecting from them. And even the organized sector, as SALCA, it's representing them in the National Council of Provinces. That is why we once even hosted them in terms of a breakfast to make sure that they are part of us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nyambi. Indeed, when you hosted that consultative breakfast, hosting the executive of the South African Local Government Association here in Parliament, some of the issues that they raised were around them not having a voice in the legislations or that are passed that speak to them, as well as the water crisis. Are there any developments on these two issues since you had the meeting last year?
They are very serious development. You'll remember that part of what we're doing, we're mindful that they are the people that are at the coalface of service delivery. And we can't talk about them and not having them having a voice. And in the National Council of Provinces, they do have a representation. But when you go to a province, in terms of briefing, when you are going to pass a particular legislation, you brief the province. Of course, they invited them, but we decided that let us not rely on a province when we're dealing with an organized sphere of government. Let's invite them. And the issue that came out very strongly is the one of water that we are raising it, and we have escalated it. That is why we have got a minister that is looking at that function. We have escalated it to the presidency to make sure that all these different villages. Now, it's not an issue of us looking around or asking where there are problems. We know all the areas and we know the real challenges, and we know even the costing of the budget that must be there so that those challenges can be attended to. And the organized sphere of local government was very clear that at all times when we're dealing with issues that are in local government, we have to be mindful of the challenges that they are facing. Like you'll understand, we have got two different houses, National Assembly and NCOP. Sometimes if there's no synergy between the houses, like it used to happen in the past, but now it's an issue of the past, there's a proper coordination, there's effectiveness. If you are going to a province, because in a province, you'll be going to a local municipality. If you get to a local municipality, don't surprise a municipality to get in as a portfolio committee from National Assembly or a select committee in the NCOP without alerting them. You don't need their permission, but alert them that we are coming, we are dealing with these issues, come on board, so that when you leave, you must not leave challenges, because you'll raise expectations from the people, and when the people are complaining, they're not going to get us because we're in Cape Town, they will be going to the people that are at the local government. So it's part of the issues that are raised, and we're very clear about them that that is now an issue of the past, that at all times when we go to local government, we are mindful that we have got a sphere of government that we have to respect.
Thank you so much, House Chairperson Nyambi. And we have mentioned a lot about oversight as well as the work of the committees. And since today it's the last State of the Nation address for the 5th Parliament, when you look back on the work that you've been mandated with of oversight and committees and intergovernmental relations, what do you think you will pass on to the 6th Parliament in order to improve on the work that you have started?
All the committees, except probably few that are dealing with the legislations. The rest, they are doing their legacy report. Legacy report will assist the 6th Parliament. When they come in, they will know what the 5th Parliament has done, what has happened with issues of legislation, what has happened with issues of oversight, what are the challenges. Am I satisfied that we have reached the level that I can say it's perfect? No. I'm satisfied that, of course, we have done fairly well. Like yesterday, you know that there was this issue of Section 100 in Northwest Province. There's an intervention. Yesterday, we met the IMTT, the Interministerial Task Team, led by Minister Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. 9 ministers, 3 deputies were facing a select committee in Parliament to account about what they have done in Northwest Province. And it was historic. From 94, you can check records. It's unprecedented. It has never happened that a committee in Parliament can have as many as, because you know that if you are doing oversight, you do it in a committee, in a department. But to have 9 ministers coming at once to answer, so that it's assisting the committee to go back and say, in terms of doing that oversight about that intervention in Northwest, they are going to present a report to the NCOP, and that will make it to be part of the legacy report. Those that are coming for 6th Parliament, there is no need for them to struggle and grapple about what happened, what were the issues. In all the committees, there will be clear recommendations, clear legacy report that will assist them so that they take it from where the 5th Parliament has left the issues.
Thank you. Just to continue on that, the Global Parliamentary Report has indicated that South Africa has one of the best oversight and accountability models, of which the parliaments of the world are actually using it as a benchmark. What criteria really gave us this beautiful status as South Africa?
I think it's mainly the drafters of the Constitution when they decided to come with go and do a research, a study tour to other countries, but incorporate it to our situation in South Africa. And towards the end of December, myself as the House Chairperson in the NCOP and my colleague who is the House Chairperson, Honorable Frolik, in the National Assembly, were in Poland, and members of different parliaments, they came to us to appreciate the unique way of how we decided to structure how we'll be doing issue of oversight, because the issue of oversight it's quite complex, and if you happen to dedicate much time capacitating your members, offering them all the relevant tools of trade and making sure that they are equal to the task, and when they are doing oversight, it's without fear or favor. And if you have to have a minister that must come and face the department, if the minister is not there without a clear explanation, because we understand, of course, they are members of cabinet, they've got other responsibilities, but there's a plan in parliament. There are no surprises. You decide in advance to say, on this date, we'll be meeting this department, and we're not just praising a fish for swimming. If you are not coming on board, we'll always raise it. And the leader of government and business, whenever we've got some challenges when it comes to issues of oversight, we're upfront about those issues. But there is that little room for improvement. And with the legacy report that will be leaving, I'm quite definitely convinced that the 6th Parliament will take it from what the 5th Parliament has done. And the issue of oversight, it's what will make us to realize that we can improve it, but mainly I am at the point that I can say we've done our part, and this is the year that will be very interesting because it's unique. You have 2 SONA. The one is accounting, then immediately after that one is going to be elections. Then we're going to have another one that will have clear plans, and those that will coming in will take it from what we have done, what we're doing today.
Mr. Nyambi, thank you so much. On a lighter note now, what do you take from this 5th Parliament, you as the House Chairperson, on lessons that have been learned, and what you think if you were to become a House Chairperson in the 6th Parliament, you say you're going to improve on?
It was a very interesting year, having a new party that came in, changing the ball game altogether, forcing us to go and revisit our rules. Sometimes we have made the rulings that will look back and say, was I spot on? Then you realize, no, there is a room to improve. We haven't reached a stage of perfection. 25 years of democracy, we have learned a lot of things. They are very good lessons, and we can take it from those lessons. And I am proud of what we have done. But of course, there is that room that we could have done much, much, much better.
House Chairperson, before you leave, what do you expect in the President's State of the Nation address today, since it's the last one for this 5th Parliament?
2 things. The first one, it's a way of accounting about the commitments that were made in the last SONA, how far he has gone in terms of making sure that those issues that were commitments in 2018, that's the first issue. The second one is to give us a clear picture of what will be happening in future, challenges facing the economy, the issue of unemployment, the issue of inequality, the ugly head of racism that from time to time you see pockets of it in different parts of South Africa. So those are the issues that I expect him to be very bold and clear of how we're going to make sure that we assist the people that are still facing the challenges of inequality and make sure that we bring a lot of investors, because we have seen him having a lot of shows. He was in Davos. We expect him to tell us what is the way forward, how are we going to get out to the current challenges facing us as a country.
House Chairperson, thank you very much for this informative interview, and we hope you have a beautiful day today. Viewers at home, back to you. You have indeed heard a lot about the work of the NCOP. The House Chairperson has given us a mouthful, things to think about, things that we may expect from the President. And now I'm going to hand over to Masego, who again is with another House Chairperson. Over to you, Masego.
Thank you very much, Valerie. Valerie Abuisana le Honorable Nyambi, who's the House Chairperson for Committees, Oversight and Intergovernmental Relations in the National Council of Provinces. Most of you know who's the House Chairperson in the National Council of Provinces for International Relations. Dumela Memadi Khale and welcome to studio. Your role as House Chairperson ko NCOP ke eng?
Ye kgolo ko gore re thushana le chairperson wa rena wa ntlo modulasetulo wa ntlo mme Thandi Modise ge a se available to run the plenary of the house, then re a tsena gore kgone mo thusha nna le Honorable Nyambi and deputy chairperson wa rena Honorable Tau. Ye nngwe gape ka bjale ka house chairperson ke thusha kudu di member gore ga bana le mathata ba kgone go ta gona ke kgone ba thusha.
Okay, ka gore o House Chairperson wa International Relations, o ka re tlhalosetsa fela gore ke botlhokwa gore goreng go le botlhokwa gore parlamente ya rona ya South Africa e nne leloko la di international structures tsa di parlamente?
Go botlhokwa kudu ka baka la gore ge re ka mo South Africa re ka nagana gore re dira dilo ga botse, re direla batho ba rena ga botse, re bereka le bona ga botse, re ka nagana gore megopolo ya rena e feleletse, mara ga re thoma re tswela ka nte re ithuta tše dingwe tše dintši tše e le goreng batho ba bangwe ba di dira, like go ya ke fa motlhala ka dinaga tša go swana le bo Brazil, Singapore, bo Malaysia, mo e le gore go na le di-project tše di botse tše e le goreng o ka di tšea wa tla le tšona ka mo nnageng ba tla ba kgona go thuša badudi ba South Africa le bona ba kgona go tšwela pele ga botse. So ge re sa ya re ka itša gore di a tšona, mara mola e le gore go na le mo re tlhaelelong gona.
So le ithuta ka dinaga tse dingwe.
Re ithuta ka dinaga tše dingwe.
Kore jaanong ka gore re tla mo bokhutlhong jwa 5th Parliament, ke eng se wena o ka reng o se ithutile personally as the House Chairperson wa International Relations, se gape o ka eletsang gore maybe se dirwe botoka ko parlamenteng e latelang, which is the 6th Parliament?
Nka sebe ka re go bile boleta ke tla re go do ba le mošomo wa gore nako nngwe ya ka ra house o nagana gore dilo di o sepela ga botse, wa humana gore go ne batho ba bangwe ba sa kwešišeng di-rules tša parliament. So maele a nka fang batho ke gore a re lekeng go ithuta dibukana tša rena tša gore thuša gore re kgone go šala melao bjang ka housing. Nako tše dingwe di humana motho a di o emelela ka gore a nyaka go bona TV le yone nako nngwe ya tshwene a nyaka go tšwelela TV a thoma go nyako thakathakantšha parlamente a sa lebelele gore na di-rules tša house di reng. Pele nto ke ithutileng yona ke gore go nyaka ga kgotelelo, especially o le leader o dutše mola batho ka moka ga bona ba go lebeletše mola gore swantse o ba lokele ka mo diateng tša go ka moka ga bona. Go nyaka kgotelelo. Sa bobedi go nyaka gore o seka ba felela pelo batho ba. Sa boraro ke gore tseba di-rules tša house o di tsebile aowa o mongwe le o mongwe wa nyakang o a lapileng go dula ka ra house a thoma misbehavior wa bona gore o la o lapile o nyako o tswela ka nte mo ntšhetša ka nte ke mokana mošomo wa parlamente wa kgona go tswela pele.
Go follow up just mo kganyeng fetsa go e bua ke solofela gore there were also nice moments, moments where you felt proud of yourself or bona gore no tiro ya direga. O ka re sharela fela gore metsotso eo ke efeng e o e gopolang fela gore now mo ke bone gore no, it was nice, it was fun?
Mabakeng a mantši ge re yo feleletša re dula re lebeletše gore re kwana gore re mo ka baka la gore swantse re thuše batho re be ntwete re be ba gankwana.
mothalo mongwe nka o fang ke wa nako e la re bolela ka di-issues tša land wa bona bill ya expropriation of land without compensation yela e bontšhitše gore whether o gopotše go diang goba o diang mara mafelelo e re dirile batho ba batho re nagane ka batho ba rena mola fase so bill ela go iphasiša go bile bose and ye nngwe gape-gape o tla lemoga gore di-traditional leaders the Khoi and the San e be batho ba le gore ba phela ba lela gore mara rena o ka re melao ye ya lena e re khabara so bill e nngwe e nkgathileng ke enela ya go dila ka traditional Khoi and San gore ka moka ga rena re be re kwana gore no batho ba re swantse re ba thuše of course o tla no feleletša go ene batho ba sa tsebeng gore mabua le ona a qualify gore magoši ba ka dula batho ba le ba rena ba the Khoi and the San le bona ba swanela ba babedi ba bararo ba ka no gana because political party ya bona e sa itšefelo ka bogoši mara ke kgonne go bona gore e be di-moment tše di bosetša gore mo re a kwana gore ye re tetse go representa batho a se ratela go gana ka ra palamente a se ratela rena re teng
okay ka gore yaanong re lebile 6th parliament ke eng tse o ka ba eletšang tsone or wa ba advisor gore rena maybe ge re tlhaetse mo or ba le ka dira botoka mo
o bona ka mogare ga palamente re tswang ka gare ga yona go bile le maikemišetšo a mantšhi go bile di-commitment tše dintšhi and go bile le maikemišetšo a mantšhi a gore leadership ya rena ya governance ba feleletše ba pusha tše dingwe tša di-program so maele a nka fang batho kore re sa ya ka gare ga the 6th parliament re se ka ketimiša kudu go raloka le go kgatha batho gore ta tswelela tv ka mebalabala a rena di-political party re lebelele gore re tswela ka commitment ya gore re kgone go transforma maphelo a badudi ba South Africa
okay re lebile le ditlhopho ene re solofetse gore mopresidente o tla re bolelela letlha la ditlhopho o ka reng mo bašweng gore segolo ba eneng gore e tla ba ile go vouta ga mathomo ke molaetsa o feng o ba tshwaretseng one
ke a kgopela go baswa ba rena gore le gane bela ke re le gore re feditše motho mongwe re ka sa re o bulela di-voting station mo di be di le gona mara a se batho ba tswalela ba ka ya ba registera mola dimasepaleng tša bona ba ka ya ke a kgopela gore baswa ba rena ba ba sa yang a ba tše dipasa tša bona ba kitime ba registera gore le bona nke ba teba ko monate ola wa go bolelela naga ya bona because motho o mongwe go o dutše fase gore ke fa mothala president a rena Cyril Ramaphosa re mmona o ta wina mara o dutše fase a ka se kgone go tsena ge wena o sa ya wa fitha wa mo fa maatla a gore a ya goba whoever wa nyakang a wina kgopelo e beno ba gone gore baswa ba rena ke bona ba etapele ba ka moso o mongwe le mongwe a lemoge gore o ta ba a ka ba president ya naga ka moso tšatši le lengwe ba emelele ka maoto ba dira gore le bona ba be karolo ya mmušo ba ye ba ikemišetše and ka tšatši la go vouta se ke ba robala goba ba die tše dingwe goba ba binela bomonata ba se ka edibala ba tše dipasa tša bona ba ye ba voute crossela ya bona e bothoko kudu-kudu go bolela nnete kudu-kudu ke lebeletše ba mmala wa rena re ne e go nyatša dilo gore ae ba ta wina ba ta diama re sae re phala ke ba le ba mmala a ba ria le nne ba re ke yaya nte le nna di ka se kgonega so baswa ba rena ba tsebe gore nte le bona di ka se kgonega
ke lebogetse nako ya gago mme Mmadikgale ke solofela gore you're going to have a busy evening so ga ke batle go senyetsa nako ka gore ke sebela go ipaakanya wa go apara mosego wa gago o montle jaana ke se ka go senyetsa nako ke a leboga bašwa le utlwile gore gate le se ka la idibala ke mme Mmadikgale le tsoge ka moso wa ditlhopho le go tlhopele the party that you want to be ruling your country as you are our future leaders. We're going to cross over to Valerie who will be talking to Honorable Didiza who is a House Chairperson in the National Assembly.
Oh, AP.
Yeah.
No. Tell Masiko to wind something. We want to change the camera.
Babukeli emakhaya siyabuyela kunina. Babukeli emakhaya siyabuyela kunina sibuya manje no House Chairperson umama uThogo Didiza okwi National Assembly. Mama siyakwemukela kule interview.
Ngiyabonga ngiyanibingelela nanibalaleli emakhaya.
Mama uThogo sizwile umsebenzi yenu eniyenzile kule 5th Parliament. We've just realized that actually you have done a lot of work just before we close for the 5th Parliament, and one of your work that you have been thoroughly involved in is the establishment or the collaboration of the theme books. Can you tell us more about these theme books, please?
Well, thank you very much. The Fifth Parliament, albeit the dramas that people observe on television, has actually achieved a lot. One of the things we decided to do on the year 2016 and 17 was to actually reflect on the writing of the Constitution of South Africa. And in our view, that was an important process because we're looking back and saying, how do we impart to our younger generation, but also remind ourselves of the journey we traverse as a country in actually writing the supreme law of our land, which is the Constitution. So we decided that we're going to categorize it in the various thematic areas around which the Constitution was drafted. The Bill of Rights, for instance, also looking at the Chapter 9 institutions and their role, looking at, you know, the institutions supporting democracy. And what we then did was to go back to members of parliament who were there during that process and ask them to give us their reflections of how they actually navigated that process of transition, making sure that they put the architecture of the legal framework of our country, learning from external, you know, countries where we learn certain lessons, but also involving the public in making their views known. What is it that they would want the new South Africa to look like? And that's what these theme books are actually comprising. It also has, you know, the contributions of those members who were there during that time on how they, as members of the different political parties, navigated very critical areas of the constitution-making process, such as the Bill of Rights, how to actually ensure that while, particularly on the land question, while we protect the rights of all citizens to have a right to land, deal with the historical legacy of dispossession. That's why if you look at Section 25, it gives everybody the right to property, but at the same time, empowers the state to intervene in order to redress the land inequalities in our country, which was as a result of land dispossession.
Thank you so much, Mamutidiza. You have touched a lot. In terms of these thematic books, in what languages will they be made available to the public? Because, you know, South Africa has 11 official languages, so that also it's accessible to our communities out there. Are there any plans to make sure that it is accessible, especially that the access to information is a constitutional right as well?
Yes, it is, and we hope that that's what the sixth administration, the sixth parliament, will do. At the moment, they are in English only, but it is our hope that it will be translated in all 11 official languages of South Africa. They are available already here in parliament, but for me, one of the, well, pet projects in terms of that whole project of the thematic books, it's actually a coffee table book, because not everybody was in a theme committee, but people participated in the assembly as they debated the various elements of the Constitution. So we went back also as part of honoring some members who may have departed already by now, to capture what, you know, just a paragraph or sentence of what members in the debate were saying. So that coffee table book, it's also available so that people can see, what did my mother say, you know, as a member of parliament? What did my father do? Or what did my grandmother do? It's actually an important part of our history to know who are these men and women in the first phase of our democracy who actually developed the supreme law of our land.
Thank you so much, Mamutoko Titiza. You mentioned a very important aspect in terms of the Constitution, Section 25, that it deals with the property in South Africa. And you alluded to the fact that most of our people have been deprived of land. Parliament and the Ad hoc Committee went around South Africa conducting public hearings. Do you perhaps have any idea as to how far the report of those public hearings is for the public viewers at home?
The report of the committee that was canvassing the views of people on the Section 25 of the Constitution actually tabled their report in Parliament. You remember that it was not only going out to the communities, but also we allowed representations where people would come and make presentation in front of the committee. Thirdly, we also allowed written submissions which were sent to Parliament. Before the end of last year, the committee in both houses, in the National Council of Provinces and in the National Assembly, they presented their report, which was adopted by the House. A motion was then proposed that we set up an ad hoc committee that now will actually amend Section 25 of the Constitution. Parties have been written to actually give us the names of the members of who will serve in the ad hoc committee, and that's what Parliament is waiting for from all the parties at the moment. And after that, hopefully this month, the committee will then sit and then work out its program of work.
Thank you, Mama Utogo Didiza. Today, indeed, is the last State of the Nation address for the 5th Parliament. And just before then, we'll be then getting ready for the 6th Parliament. Can you just tell me what expectations you possibly have for this evening from the President?
If you look at the theme of this Constitution, of this session of the 5th administration, it's a closure where we're actually saying we want to ensure that what we had committed to South Africans in terms of what we as public representatives and as the legislature we will do, this is how far we've done it. And we hope on where we might not have concluded, the 6th administration will do it. So our expectation is that as the President speaks to the nation, he will actually address economic issues, social issues, and political issues, some of them locally and internationally. Important areas of what the government will be doing going forward. In our engagement as legislatures in critiquing that State of the Nation next week, between Tuesday and Wednesday, we will actually be teasing some of the areas of what the President will be talking about, making our own representations of what we think might need to be done. We may be agreeing with the President on some of those areas because clearly there are some commonalities on the concerns that South Africans have, particularly on issues of the economy. We will engage, make our proposal on what we think more can be done beyond what government is doing. We would also raise some of the concern of what we may be feeling as legislators on what is happening in our country. For instance, one of the issues that last year has been concerning and continues to concern us is the sliding back somehow in our society where issues of racism are emerging in the treatment of workers in the farms, some of them happening in the public institutions, in school, but also some of the violence that we've been seeing perpetrated against women and children. So on some of those social issues, as legislature, we will also look to what extent has our government done, things to ameliorate that some of these problems, and how we also, as public representatives, we have and we can still, working with our communities, deal with these issues because some of the challenges are not just government challenges, are challenges of society that both citizens and government must address.
Thank you so much. Touching on international engagements, you have done so much here in South Africa, but also I noticed that you also are a chairperson of the Commonwealth Women Parliamentary Africa region that deals with the issues of women. Can you just give us an overview of what really is the responsibility and the mandate of yourself as the chairperson of this Commonwealth organization?
South Africa is a member of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, and as such, it allows us an opportunity to engage with members of the Commonwealth on issues of development and sustainable democracy. One of the things that we've been concerned about as women parliamentarians within that institution is actually the participation of women in the legislatures and parliaments, but also the participation of women in other institutions of our society. One of the things we've been doing is to actually work with women's organization, non-government organization in the continent to actually ensure that the commitments that our countries have made in the United Nations on the issues of women empowerment, commitments that they've made in the African Union, commitments that they've made in the SADC and other regional communities are actually taken forward beyond the paper. If you look at the elections that have been held in some of the countries in the past 5 years, there has been some improvement in other countries, but also there have been sliding back in others, which therefore says to us the issues of women participation in leadership and women's participation in politics is critical, because no society can succeed unless its women are free, unless its women contribute in the development of public policy, in the development of our economy. So they are a critical sector of our society, so as the young people.
Oh, thank you so much, Mama. With this issue of women and having advancements in the parliament, how involved are the men to see this dream or to see this area getting developed within all the parliaments in the region especially?
Well, there are men who are champions, who are actually working with women parliamentarians and women organizations, but also with men, to ensure that we deal with this stereotype that women's role is only in the domestic sphere, and also that women are less capable when it comes in leadership. These are some of the stereotypes that we need to deal with, and deal with patriarchy in our society that somehow, make people to feel that men are the better species. I think men and women are important partners in the development of any society, and that's what we need to, ingrain as we raise our children, the respect of each other, and also in their outlook, and how we can also infuse in the curricula, but also using media as platforms for educating our societies on these issues.
Mamutogo Titiza, it's been really interesting. But now, on a lighter note, your reflections or your moments, your highlights while you were a House chairperson during one of the debates, something that would stay with you for quite some time. Do you have one?
Well, I do. Actually, something that happened last year when Mam Kawula, one of the members of the EFF, was participating in debate. It was very interesting that she actually dealt with very important issues on the debate, but towards the end, she decided, as all parliamentarians would do, challenge the ruling party benches about, the new narrative that the president has raised of Tumamina, ensuring that all of us as citizens can actually be willing to go a step further in improving our society. And as she did that, she actually coined it in a manner that it attacks the ANC. And her time was actually up, so I tried to bring her to order and say she needs to step down from the podium and go to her seat. And she actually refused and said, no, wait a minute, let me deal with the DA, because she still wanted to attack the DA on their policy, particularly on water and sanitation here in the Western Cape. And I tried my best to politely ask her to, to stop. She did it, and I couldn't help myself. I actually laughed. It's one of those moments, because at times our society think that, when we speak outside parliament and challenge each other very robustly, it's like we are not citizens, we don't talk to each other. So such moments, particularly in parliament, shows the level of cooperation that, in my view, should be encouraged in our, in our society, that we do need to engage, we may need to differ, but let's do that with respect and with politeness.
Mama Togo Titiza, thank you so much for your time. It's been really interesting, and you have a lovely smile. If you don't mind me saying so as well. Thank you so much for making my time. But we also have a request to say that if you can just pose for our selfie. We are going industrial revolution, so there are so many demands these days. Thank you, Mama.
If you're just joining us, you missed quite a bit, including interviews with the presiding officers of Parliament as well as the administrative leadership. Let's recap. We began our broadcast by interviewing the Secretary to Parliament, Ms. Jawa, as this to say that the preparations for the State of the Nation address, actually apologies, we were supposed to interview Ms. Jawa about the preparation, and because of the business of the day, she couldn't make it to our interview. We're still hoping to talk to her at a later stage during the day. And also we had our social media guy, Ayanda Konzi, who says it's been so busy on the social media. So he's going to give us just a quick recap on what was happening on the social media part. Ayanda, bokwenza kantoni?
Hey, Masejo, on social media, as you know, today it's Throwback Thursday. So it's normally a culture for social media to post pictures that are old or, you know, from their past. So if you go to our social media platforms, which can be found at Parliament of RSA, that's on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, but specifically on Twitter, we've been doing a number of throwbacks. Just scrolling through our feed, we can see that the first throwback was of the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa, with the former president, Jacob Zuma, being sworn in. There's also a throwback of the economic freedom fighters as they were being sworn in. Together with the following one is the Democratic Alliance on their big day when they're being sworn into Parliament as officially as members of Parliament. There's also a number of throwbacks that you can make sure that you go out and engage, but perhaps it is Throwback Thursday, and I'm not sure if you normally participate in the Throwback Thursday part.
I try. Sometimes when I've got time to do it.
Okay.
And that is if I've got old pictures.
Okay, cool. Well, to you at home, please do participate. Give us your favorite memes from the 5th Parliament. I understand there's a number of very famous ones, from the Ndlozi one to the Baleka Mbeta, so please do continue interacting and give us those throwbacks.
Mogaetso ko malapeng Parliament go pharakano ka fo ntle ka fa ra ipakanyetsa speech sa ga president sa Kgantele Maitseboa fa tla bo a re naya puo ya pulo ya Parliament ya bofelo ya 5th term of Parliament ka 2019. Theme ya mono wa ga mogaetso ja ka ke ne ke buile ke gore puo ya Parliament engwe le engwe e nna le theme ya yone ya mono wa ga ke following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. We're going to be moving to outside to show you some shots of what is happening outside as the red carpet is going to be rolled soon and people are getting a buzz and getting ready for the State of the Nation address. As you can see right in front of the Mandela bust there outside, the red carpet is there and it's almost ready. We are getting ready for the State of the Nation address this evening at 7 p.m. And as you can see, the scaffolds are up there. The media is abuzz as well, looking forward to this State of the Nation address. The cameras, as you can see them outside, people are just getting busy to prepare for the State of the Nation address.
And Masejo, we might be very cool inside the studio, but we understand that outside the temperature is rising.
Apparently it's 37 today. It's going to be a hot day.
A scorcher.
I don't know how it's going to happen with those wind ties, unfortunately. So, and the jackets, we're going to see how that one goes later in the evening. But lucky for us, we're in studio. That building that you can see there is the National Assembly. It's in front of the National Assembly where the president will be standing and when the 21-gun salute will go off as we sing the national anthem. And speaking of the 21-gun salute, in 1842, the 21-gun salute became the international norm as the highest honor a nation rendered, and it is fired in honor of the president. The first shot of the salute is synchronized to coincide with the playing of the national anthem. The salute takes exactly 1 minute and 40 seconds. So you'll see later on, just there in front of those stairs, that is where in front of the National Assembly, when we sing the national anthem and the 21-gun salute will go off.
Okay, Masejo, you say it's 1 minute and 40 seconds. I'm aware, or I've been told that last year, even the 21-gun salute, they try synchronize it with the exact length of the national anthem.
Yes, that's how it is. As soon as it starts, also the National Assembly, the national anthem. I keep on saying National Assembly because the National Assembly is in front of me. The national
it's a beautiful
anthem.
Building.
It is a beautiful building indeed.
Okay.
That is where later on you'll see the traffic happening, where people will be dressed to the nines. bringing their best outfits to the State of the Nation address, and of course the beautiful Table Mountain right there, clear as it is. And today the wind has forgiven us, the weather is beautiful, and it's hot, yes, but it is quite a beautiful day. It is quite a beautiful day in Parliament.
Okay. Do make sure that you follow us on all our social media platforms. Thank you very much for your interaction and your engagement. So please do follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Parliament of RSA, or you can live stream on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, please make sure that you subscribe. And I'll be back later on with some social media updates. Masego?
We're going to be back as well at 3 p.m. And as I said, there are public viewing areas in all the provinces. Kindly visit www.gcis.gov.za to check where you can go and view the State of the Nation address to be presented by President Cyril Ramaphosa. And as I said, that this is the last State of the Nation address of the 5th term of Parliament. And the theme, again, is following up on our commitments to the people, making your future work better. As you can see also, there's the wall banner there of all the milestones, all the State of the Nation address pictures from 1984 as it goes up. I hope that you'll be able to get a clear vision of the whole wall banner where you get to see all the beautiful pictures. And there as well, the Making Your Future Work Better banner hanging there in the walls of Parliament.
Indeed, Parliament, it's a great theme for where we are as a country and where we're going. We are a very optimistic country looking forward, and as we heard from some of the interviews from the different officials from Parliament, they are optimistic about the future. There's a lot of lessons learned from the 5th Parliament and a number of things to take forward moving forward.
Yes, and as well, as you know, as a tradition in the state, during the State of the Nation address, we have Imbongi, Mogi, Setswana Mogaetso, and this year we are focusing on Setswana language. And Mogi wa rona itla be le boikanyo ra mogwelelo o tswang ko mafikeng ke ene o tla be a re bokela mo presidente wa rona wa naga. And every year a different language. Last year it was isiZulu. Imbongi was a isiZulu speaking one, and this year the language is Setswana. Ka jalo buti o bakeng ra mogwelelo ke ene o tla ba re bokela mo presidente wa rona wa naga. And this new element of the SONA aspect of bringing in Imbongi, it started as a public participation element. And although our parliament is based on the Westminster tradition, Imbongi praise singing gives African pride a place during the president's address. And it's a narration, the president's personal history, clan and family lineage in song, dance, and narration. Imbongi starts this narration as the presidential procession enters the chamber. You will see it maitiboeng a gompieno mogaetso yaka abuti o bakeng ramogwelele o tswang ko mafikeng a tlabe a re bokela mo presidente wa rona wa naga.
Okay. Yes, it's a beautiful day in Cape Town, South Africa, as you can see. That's Portes, that's the old assembly chamber, as you can see. One of the second oldest, one of the medium oldest buildings here on the parliamentary precinct. As you'll see with the images going around, people are coming in, things are picking up. There's also a lot of police. As you would know, that the parliamentary precinct is a national key point, so security will be heavy, and it's a bit quiet, but things are picking up right now.
Since, well, it's a throwback Thursday, because we're going to take a break from now and we will be back at 3 p.m., we're going to be broadcasting you the old State of the Nation address, the one from 1994, the one from 1997, and also the first one of this term of Parliament, as now we are in the last one for this term of Parliament. And keep active on our social media platforms, and you'll meet your gentleman later, or Ayanda Konsi Unkabane, who will also update you later again about what's been happening on the social media platforms. We'll see you again back at 3 p.m. exactly on the dot.
Cheers.
The State of the Nation address is an address to the nation by the President of the Republic of South Africa as the head of state. It is commonly referred to as the annual opening of Parliament. The President uses this occasion to set out the government's key policy objectives and deliverables for the year ahead in a wide-ranging address to members of Parliament, which is the basis for executive action during that calendar year.
I now call on the Honorable the President to address the joint sitting.
It is one of the rare occasions where the three arms of state, the executive, government, the legislature, parliament, and the judiciary, the courts, gather in one place. The executive is represented by the deputy president and cabinet. The judiciary is represented by the chief justice and judge presidents.